What's going on, guys? It's your boy Old Scrubby here, back again with another video, and welcome to the 12 days of Old Scrubs. That's right, so please be sure to press the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you're new, or you'll get cold for Christmas. And if you really want to be a swag lord, check out the haha sweater in the description. And without further ado, let's get into the third episode of the 12 days of Scrubs.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a story time for y'all that I think you're going to enjoy, about a time I watched a Karen just get absolutely 720 no-scoped by a manager that just was not going to take it anymore. But, yeah, regardless, I figured it would be a story time y'all are really going to enjoy, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And without further ado, let's get into it. But before we do, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam. You are going to be attacked by a Karen next time you're out in public, and trust me, you don't want that to happen. And, yeah, on that note, let's go.
Get quiet now, laying low when you reach zone, wiping out, making out, stack the bread, 'cause
Alright, guys, so thankfully this was not something I witnessed while I was a worker at an establishment. Rather, I was just a customer. But about 2 weeks ago now, I ended up needing to go to this fried chicken place near my house and get myself a little bit of their delicious sauce. Whatever, I'll just say where I'm going, it doesn't matter. I was going to Cane's. It literally does not matter to the story. This could be any fast food restaurant. But for those of you that don't know, currently fast food restaurants are having a huge issue with labor shortages. Basically, a bunch of people are like, nah, I don't want to be a fry cook for what you're going to pay me, so naturally the lines are a little bit longer, things take a little bit longer, they're out of some stuff because of other shortages, things just aren't necessarily moving like a well-oiled machine right now. And usually I Uber Eats or I drive through, like, you know, I'm just not a big fan of going in. If I'm gonna get fast food, I might as well commit to being lazy, you know what I mean? But for whatever reason, I'm inside, and I'm standing in line, and it's a pretty long line, and I'm just minding my business. I'm just looking at my phone. I was reading something on Reddit, and as I'm sitting there minding my business, I hear, you know, voices getting raised in front of me, and I look up, and it's like this poor kid couldn't have been older than, like, you know, 16 and a half. Like, this was a young kid. He just looked like it. No fault of his own. Kind of looked like, remember the kid that made the Pokemon Go song, like, a long time ago? Kind of looked like that kid, you know, just kind of working, doing his thing behind the register. And he's standing there trying to, like, explain what he's doing. And on the other side of him is this very, very large man and his wife. And I don't mean large in terms of, like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson scary. I mean large as in the other type, not that it matters, but his wife is standing there looking at him like a Karen as well. And both of them are yelling at this poor kid standing there at the cash register just trying to explain that, you know, they're out of something and it's not his fault. And I don't know what they're out of, and frankly, it doesn't really matter, dude. It's not the cashier's fault that the restaurant is out of something. But for whatever reason, these people start yelling. They're like, we know that you're not out of it because 2 hours ago, you know, someone came here in our neighborhood and they got it. So we know you're not out of it. Stop lying to us. Why will you not let us buy this? We're trying to give you our money. You're an idiot. You're so stupid. No wonder you're a cashier at a fast food restaurant. Like, just all horrible types of insults, basically saying that this kid is a moron because they're out of something. And usually in these situations, the crowd speaks up, everybody kind of starts yelling at the people and they back down, but we didn't even have time to react. They were yelling at him for probably about 30 seconds, and then I see this older gentleman walk over and get himself between the cash register and the kid, and these two people that are going Karen mode, you know. And he says, excuse me, is there a problem here? You don't need to be yelling at my workers like that. And I pretty quickly realize, all right, this is either the manager, the owner of the franchise, like someone that has some power here. And, you know, the two Karen people get this, like, smug-sounding voice on. I couldn't really see their faces very well, but they're like, oh, finally someone that actually has the ability to do something right around here. You must be the manager. And the manager is like, yeah, I am, but once again, you don't need to talk like that about my employees. That's unnecessary. How can I help you? And the guy starts to explain that, you know, about 2 hours ago, one of their neighbors had come down here and gotten this special type of Frosty or whatever, and they wanted to come get it because he had a sip of it and he thought it was delicious, so they drove all the way down here for it, and now your stupid worker, and he says that, is telling me that you guys don't have any of it. And the manager gets this look on his face that I can only assume was like, I can't believe people like this exist. because he says, well, you know, I don't know if he told you, but we are now out of everything that we used to make that particular item, so we can't do that. And on top of that, he's not stupid for letting you know that. He's doing his job. What, would you rather him have rang you up and then not given you the item? And that's really what I didn't understand either, bro. Like, they're out of it. The kid says that you're out of it, right? So you're not listening to him. You're just ignoring him. You're assuming he's a moron who's hiding the secret Slurpee from you because you really want it. Why he would do that, I don't know. But what would you have preferred he do other than tell you it's not in stock? Would you rather him have charged you for it and then you just never get it? Is that what you would wanted? Do you want to swipe your card for it so that way you get the mental image that the Frosty's going to be coming, but then when your food comes, it's just not there? Because if you're willing to pay $7 to imagine things, then like, bro, I'm going to start a new business where I serve people imaginary food, and these will be my #1 customers. Anyways, obviously they don't like that, and they're like, well, there's no reason for you to be rude, you know, your employee did a horrible job of explaining it, and that's not our fault, and the manager cuts them off before they can even explain it, and he goes, ma'am, I've been listening to the interaction, and I can tell that you and your husband started berating this child the second he told you there was nothing that we could do about it. You didn't give him a chance to explain. You didn't ask any questions to understand better. You just assumed that he was stupid and lying to you. And I promise you that we're not keeping secret stuff in the back to hide away from specifically you. Because that's what, dude, like whenever I worked at a grocery store, people would do that all the time. I would say that we were out of something and they would be like, no, you're not. Yeah, you're right, dude. We're not. I am just purposely going out of my way to tell as many people as possible trying to spend money here that we don't have anything in stock because that's my secret plan. Like, do you think the store got together and agreed that we're going to have this item, keep it exclusively in the back, and, like, just not give it to you? We have specific orders not to sell it to you. Anyways, at that point, dude, both Karen and her husband here are getting a little bit more worked up. The Karen dad, I'm going to call him Darren, is just screaming at this point. He's like, I've never been treated so poorly in customer service in my entire life, and, you know, I'm going to get you guys fired. What's your numbers? I'm calling corporate, blah, 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 blah. And the manager, you know, at that point, this is when most managers fold. In my experience, once a manager starts hearing the words calling corporate, reporting you guys, all that stuff, they tend to cave. But nah, this manager, calm as ice, looks over, grabs a piece of paper, and starts writing, right? And obviously the Darren is like, hey, I asked for your corporate number, I asked for your names, like da-da-da-da-da. And the manager looks at him and goes, oh, I know, sir, I hear you. Literally everybody can hear you, you're screaming. I'm writing it down for you so that way you can't lose it and you can make sure that you call and pass along this information that you were screaming at somebody and then when the manager intervened, you got angry, or you can pass that along. Just doing it in the classiest way, dude. If you ever want to know how to win against somebody that's just being unreasonable, you just be overly reasonable and overly nice. This guy started asking for the corporate number and all the employee stuff because he expected everybody to back down and start kissing his ass, dude, and be like, oh no, please don't call, please don't get me fired, pretty please. The fact that this dude just like started writing down the corporate number, writing down his name was such a power move. I don't think Darren knew how to react. And at that point, Darren is just stumped, so Karen jumps in and she starts being like, well, we can just forget that all of this ever happened. We don't need to call corporate, blah, 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 blah. Will you just give us some coupons for our troubles? And the manager is like, no, you're not getting coupons for not reporting me to corporate for something that I didn't do. And the Karen at that point literally puts her hands on her hips and she's like, well, we need something to make up for our bad experience here. And the manager says, all right, I'll give you this. You can just leave. We're not serving you at all anymore. And both of them just gobsmacked, dude. They turned and looked at each other. It was the first time I like saw their facial expressions and they both just couldn't believe it. And they're like, that's unnecessary. We already ordered. And he gets their receipt and he's like, no, here, I'll give you a refund. Gives them their money back and is like, please leave. And both of them start trying to argue and being like, you're going to kick us out of here. Do you have any idea how many times we've come here and spent money? And the manager, dude, being an absolute hero, points at the line, which is huge. Like I said, it's a pretty long line. It's moving pretty slow, but like it's getting longer. And says, yeah, that's fine. All these people spend money too. You guys can leave. And just power played them, bro. 720 no-scoped them. They didn't know what to do. Wait, you're telling me that you're not going to bow down, give me free stuff after I said I'm a customer? What do you mean? All right, guys, I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. If you take a look on your screen now, you'll see a gift card code. For those of you that don't know, I give one of these away in every single video I post here on the channel as a way to say thank you to you guys for subscribing and turning on those notifications. So if you haven't already, you should. And while you're at it, press the like button and comment down below. It helps me out and it'd mean a lot. and thanks. I'll shut up and get back to the video. Bye. Anyways, they're stunned, but before they leave, they of course gotta try to get the last word. It's just in their DNA. And he starts going off on the manager that you need to learn manners, you don't need to be rude, you don't need to talk to customers like this, blah, 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 blah. You're no one to tell me what to do. Just kind of trying to be like, well, you shut up one last time, right? And the manager, I don't recommend saying anything like this, okay? I'm gonna say, this was mean, but you have to remember that the Darren has been screaming at this guy for multiple minutes now, degrading him, saying he's a moron, saying he needs to do all these things differently, telling him how to do his job, saying he's a loser for being the manager of a fast food restaurant. He's just going in trying to make this guy feel horrible. And so the manager turns and looks at him and says, as I said, you can leave. And if we're going to be talking about stuff that we shouldn't be doing, I don't think you need any more fried chicken, so what I'm doing is good for you. And he just turns around and walks back to, like, the drive-thru line. And at that point, everybody in the line is listening, and, like, the line kind of gets a little bit of, like, oh, and the dude is just red. He is beet red, embarrassed, obviously just got destroyed. And so his wife grabs him and is like, let's just go, let's just go. If this place doesn't want our business, then we'll go eat elsewhere, you know. And in their mind, I think they were deluding themselves into think that they were choosing to leave. Like, the wife grabbing his arm and saying, let's go, was them being like, yeah, we're choosing to leave. And the reality is they were getting kicked out. They weren't getting food from here, so it's good that they decided to go somewhere else, you know? Because, let's be honest here, they were not getting served after that. Or they might have been served, but it wouldn't have been food, dude. He just got served his, like, you know, ultimate roast on a plate by the manager. Anyways, they leave, the line calms down, everything gets back to normal. I get to the front of the line, and I happen to get the same kid that just got yelled at, right? And here's what I don't understand, bro. Like, I'm a pretty patient person when it comes to workers, so I'm expecting this kid to have been awful at his job. I'm like, you know, these people were freaking out, they were doing awful, and I'm not mean to him at all. I'm just expecting maybe he, like, talks really quietly, maybe he doesn't communicate clearly, maybe something. No, the kid honestly was fantastic at his job, bro. Communicated things clearly. I asked what he would recommend. He gave me a recommendation that was good. Like, I really don't understand how these people could have gotten mad at this dude. He knew a lot about the menu, bro. He didn't mumble. He wasn't talking quietly. Like, I really don't understand how in the world, out of any worker they could have gotten mad at, it was this guy. It just makes no sense to me. Like, really and truthfully, dude, you would have think there would have had to have been at least some reason for them to get pissed off at the kid, but no, he was just great at his job. I do have to give credit to the manager, though. I think part of the reason we're having such a big work shortage when it comes to, like, you know, minimum wage restaurants, that type of stuff, is who wants to deal with this stuff for, like, you know, $8 an hour? I don't know about y'all, my Karen stories are great, don't get it twisted, but, you know, if I could go back and not have been yelled at by so many angry people, I probably would. I think managers like this, though, standing up for the customer, not doing the whole, oh, the customer's always right thing, deserve a medal, dude, because that's more rare. Most of my managers would have sold me down the river without even considering what it was going to be like. But, yeah, moral of the story, be careful who you wish for. It looks like be careful what you wish for, I guess. It looks like minimum wage workers are no longer taking the Karen stuff that they used to in the past. Like I said, I just think the saying, the customer is always right, at this point needs to just be taken out in the backyard in Old Yeller, dude. It's just not true anymore. The customer is not always right. But anyways, guys, I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, I'd really appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the video. It really helps me out. On top of that, you can check out the intro song. Link to it can be found down below, or my podcast, The Scuffcast, link's also down there. And if you want to get some G Fuel, the best energy drink for gamers by gamers, you might as well use code SCRUBBY at the checkout, because it gets you a discount, helps me out. Literally everybody is a winner. And yeah, other than that, it is October, which means Halloween is approaching. And you can get yourself some of the Halloween merch that's on your screen now. It's pretty fantastic, it's pretty cool, and you should definitely pick yourself up some if you haven't already. Not that I'm biased or anything. Link in the top of the description. It's very Halloween-y. Some would say it gets you in the spirit and, you know, potentially fights off ghosts. That's not true at all. You know, I want to say that it won't fight off ghosts, but it will fight off ghosts, except it won't. But you should still get the merch because it's cool. But on that note, guys, this has been Scrubby. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys all next time with another video. I'm out. Peace. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are all having an absolutely fantastic day. I know I am. And if you are, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam, Elmo will jump out of your dumpster and shank you. Yeah, that's right. The quarantine has not been nice on Elmo. He accidentally ended up joining a gang, and he's very serious about the like button. It's my gang, and I'm in charge of him, so press it. Real talk, guys, when I'm not bossing around Elmo around gangland, I'm thinking of stories to tell you guys. And I know that a lot of you enjoy most of the stories that I've told about my first job. You guys just think it's entertaining that, you know, I used to get screamed at by grown women in the grocery store. That's just how it is. And I've told a lot of them, but I have one left about my favorite coworker of all time that ended up quitting on the spot and going off on our boss. And it was honestly pretty sick, and there's a good story behind it. So I figured you guys would enjoy it because Karen's getting owned is kind of a theme on this channel. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. 3, 2, 1, let's go. So like I've said, when I was in high school, I worked for a giant corporate chain of grocery stores. It's a very well-known store. They're basically everywhere. And I don't have any bad beef with the company or anything. I'll still get my groceries there sometimes. But whenever you're dealing with a massive company, what you have to understand is managers suck. Managers, for whatever reason, for giant corporations are just like whatever turd was the most polished whenever they needed somebody new, so they got moved up. I have never had worse bosses than when I've worked for corporate chain. And the managers at this store were no different. There was basically like 2 or 3 managers I got along with, but like 8 managers, and most of them were crazy. But there was one lady in particular who was like the manager of our managers. She would only come into the store maybe once a week. And she really didn't like me. She didn't like me because she would come in normal clothes and I didn't know who she was when I had first started. And one day she asked me to get her a water and I told her what aisle they were on. And I guess she took that as an insult and had it out for me ever since. And we're gonna name her Margaret for this story because I'm not trying to get sued for what she ended up doing. But Margaret just really did not like me. And at the time I was only 16, 17 years old. So I wasn't exactly like an adult. Legally in the United States, 18 is the age of being an adult. And when you're not an adult in the state of Nevada, you're not allowed to work past 11 p.m. on work days due to the laws involving school or whatever. It is literally illegal for people to schedule you past 11 p.m. if you're under the age of 18. That's just how the rules work. I don't make them. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. And this Margaret lady hated me, and almost immediately after I accidentally told her what aisle the water is on, as if that's a crime. Like, even if I knew who this lady was, it's not my job to go fetch her water whenever she wants. I'm not your slave, okay? I'm here to bag groceries. I'm only a slave for the people that are buying them, all right? Everybody else can get their own water. Real talk, I just didn't know, but she hated me, and almost immediately after that happened, she starts scheduling me on nights. I would have to start work at 11 p.m., and I would get off at 3 a.m. That was when I was supposed to be working. Only problem is, I'm a 16-year-old kid who goes to school. And my parents definitely took school kind of seriously. They would not have been cool with me working at 11 p.m. So after I realize that I'm getting put on this ridiculous night shift, I go into Margaret's office and I'm basically like, hey, you know, I have school. I can't really work from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And she looks at me and she smiles with that shitty, oh, that's so sad, but I'm not actually sad grin that only white women can do. I don't know what it is about white women, why they are genetically predispositioned to have just the nastiest facial expressions ever. But she hits me with it and goes, oh, well, I'm so sorry. That's the only hours we have available for baggers. So, you know, if you want to quit, I guess that's just something that you need to do. And winks her eyes at me and smiles. And it's at this point I realize that this manager of managers is deadass trying to get me to quit. She does not want me to work here. She doesn't like me so much that she has now taken to scheduling a child to work in the middle of the night in the hopes that I'll quit because I'll have school. And at the time I didn't know this was illegal. I thought this was perfectly fine. I only found out it was illegal, you'll hear at the end of this story. So I'm like, well, crap, I want the job, but my parents were not gonna let me work nights. So I basically decided to do what any good kid would do, and I sneak out of the house at 10:30 and go to work my night shifts whenever I was scheduled. And at first I thought I was gonna hate the night shift. Most kids sneak out to go to parties and get effed up and get girls pregnant. No, not me. I was sneaking out to go to my job. So at first I thought I was gonna hate the night shift because I'm like, great, I'm gonna be stuck with a bunch of weird people that work nights with some crappy manager. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, if you ever have a choice, the night shift is cool as hell. First of all, the manager on the night shift was this dude named Julian. Coolest dude ever. Literally did not care. As long as the job got done and he wouldn't get in trouble the next morning, he didn't care if you listened to music. He didn't care if you sang and danced while you were doing your job. As long as it got done, he didn't care, which is the ultimate way to do it. Like, it's just the best thing ever, mainly because it really shouldn't matter. If my job is to collect all the carts in the parking lot, why does it matter if I'm listening to music while I do it? And also, if I'm collecting carts in the middle of the dark parking lot, please let me do it with music on, alright? It's horrifying out here. The first night I had to go collect every cart in the parking lot. This massive, massive shopping center parking lot. At midnight, and it wasn't in the best neighborhood, so I'm not gonna lie, I thought I was gonna get jumped, but it ended up being pretty safe. There was a security guard in the parking lot that I found out about. That was never an issue. But Julian was a super cool dude, and after I got done with all the carts, there wasn't much to do, because as a bagger, they don't do cashier checkouts at night. You have to do self-checkout, so there's nothing to bag. So I go to Julian, and I'm like, look, it's midnight. I've been here for an hour. What do you want me to do? What can I go do? And he looks at me and he's like, oh, just go to the back room and hang out with Raj. He needs help stocking. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. So I didn't know who Raj was at the time, but I go to the back room and I walk in and there's like this 21-year-old Indian kid standing there. And he looks at me and he's like, oh, you're new. And I say, yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm a bagger. Da-da-da-da-da. I pissed off Margaret and she scheduled me on the night shift. And he's like, hey, that's how I started here. I used to be a bagger that got put on the night shift, and now I'm in charge of receiving items at night and like organizing them and stocking, which, you know, pretty cool. A fellow person that is hated by Margaret and got stuck on the crappy shift. We should get along great. We've got a lot in common. We're clearly bros. And that first night where Raj and I hang out, you ever just get to know somebody and you're just bros right off the bat? Like the first time you high five, you know, you just get that bro energy going. Me and him got a bromance going, you know. We were like best friends and we still talk all the time. I was literally playing video games with him before we recorded this. He doesn't work there anymore. Don't worry, we're getting there. So, basically, me and this dude would just have a great time. We were best friends. We would go into the back room after I would take care of the carts at work, and I would basically just goof off the entire time. We would get some of the disability carts because they weren't being used at night, and we would race them around the back room when the stock would get there, so it'd be like a little racetrack. We would have a great time. We would just goof off. We would tell jokes. It was always fun. It got to the point where I would be hyped to go to work because I was like, man, after I take care of the carts, it's going to be great. I'm just going to hang out with Raj. And as much as we would goof off, our work always got done. In fact, we would usually get done with the receiving and organizing and sometimes even the stocking by like 1 in the morning, and we would have just 2 hours to goof off and do whatever because we were done until the next orders got there, or I would leave and then he would have to take care of the next set of orders that would come in. We were so efficient that we had 2 hours to goof off at work as best friends, and that's just a good way to work. And Julian didn't mind when we would goof off. He would walk in and catch us doing dumb stuff, you know. We had like a Nerf basketball hoop set up, and whenever people were on break, they would come in and play. It was just a good time, and Julian didn't care because the work got done ahead of schedule. Like, it was done faster than he expected it to be done, so he didn't care what we did. He didn't ask questions. And for about a month, I'm like sneaking out of my house and going to work 2-3 times a week, and I eventually straight up started asking to get scheduled more, you know? My parents, thankfully, are kind of boomers, I'm not gonna lie, so they were asleep pretty early. It was never hard for them to be out by like 10:30 when I would leave, and they didn't really check on me before I would get back at 3 in the morning, so I was pretty good. The only thing that was really suffering was my sleep schedule, because basically I would come home from work at 3 in the morning, do my homework, go to school at like 6:30, come home at 1, sleep until like 10 p.m., eat dinner. Like, my sleep schedule was wrecked. Thankfully, my parents just bought the excuse, oh, I'm a teenager, I just need to sleep a lot. It was wrecking my schedule, but I started working like 5 nights a week on nights with Raj, just goofing off in the back room. Every night he would work, I would work, and we just had a good time. And it was always Julian as the manager. He was the only manager that liked being on the night shift. And everything was cool. It was the perfect system. Everybody who worked nights was pretty cool. We would goof off. We had a Nerf basketball tournament. We would race the carts. It was a great time. Some of the best memories I've ever had working a job happened while working nights for this grocery store. And everything's perfect up until the Fire Nation attacks. And the Fire Nation attacks, like a month and a half into me working the nights and having a great time doing it. So Julian, the manager, had the 3-strike rule, and it was his own personal philosophy. A lot of managers say the customer is always right. It's our job to please the customer. That's the only one that matters. And Julian had a 3-strike rule that basically worked like this. You had to be nice to somebody being apparently rude to you 3 times before you could be mean back. And if they said anything nice, the strikes reset. So if somebody said you're an idiot and then apologized, it would reset. But if somebody said 3 mean things in a row, he felt like you were good to be mean back. And when you work nights at a grocery store, the people that come in at night aren't always, you know, the most quiet, classy people in the universe. A good majority of the time, they're the crackheads that also need to get groceries. I'm sorry, I'm sure a lot of you are normal. If you're typing right now, hey, I shop at nights and I'm normal, you're probably normal. You are not the people that I'm talking about. But, I live in Las Vegas. There's a high crackhead population. Occasionally, they wander into a grocery store or two. So this would have to come into effect every now and then. Somebody would come in and get mouthy, and angry crackheads don't really listen to, I'm so sorry that you had a concern. Can I please find a way to make this right? No, you need to say, get out, you crazy crackhead. That's the only way to get them to listen. So the people on the night crowd were, for the most part, really nice. Some of the nicest customers I ever had would also come in at night. And, you know, they were great. They were kind. You would help them find their stuff. They would thank you. They'd be on their way. It's just when they were bad when you worked nights, they were really bad. And not in like the Karen way where they're going to complain and get coupons, but in like, oh, hey, somebody needs to clean the bathroom because some crackhead just went in there and pooped on every wall. And the people that would make returns at night were usually even worse because it would be people who had stolen things earlier in the day to try to return it for cash. It happened all the time. So our manager, Julian, is dealing with this blonde lady who is coming in at like 2:30 in the morning to return a cart full of meat that she had taken and forgotten to refrigerate in her house, and it was supposed to be his fault and to give her a refund. Let me put that in perspective. You bought a shopping cart full of meat and didn't bring it inside and put it in the fridge, and you want a refund. You want a small brain refund? Is that what that is? You don't have the brain cells to realize that things need to be refrigerated and that's our fault? The company has to take a loss because you can't think? I don't understand how some people really feel like they deserve a refund some of the time. Like, people would deadass return half-eaten cakes and have the nerve to say, I didn't like it. Oh, you didn't like it, Becky? Then why the hell did you eat half of it before you noticed, you diabetic weasel? That got very personal. All right, I had a bad interaction with the half-eaten cake one time, but you guys get the idea. So this lady is trying to return this cart full of meat that has left the store, which we don't know what she did to the meat. She could have injected cyanide into it for all we know. We don't know, and it's expired. So my manager is like, no, and she begins to get irate as old people do when you tell them no. She repeatedly tells my manager to get out of this country, even though he was born here. Says a bunch of other very nasty words that I'm not going to repeat because I'd like this video to stay monetized, and is overall being as horrible as you can be as a customer. You know, I understand sometimes people are having a bad day. They're going to get irritated when you say no. It's another thing to like insult somebody like that. And my manager loses it and tells her that she's a trashy bimbo and to get out of his store and never come back. Which, yes, is it very bad that he said that? 100%. I get why he said it. I know someone in the comments going to say, whatever, he deserves what happens next. I don't think so because he was a great manager. The work got done. And you can ask a lot of people who work in the grocery store getting a good night crew is very difficult. And he had a great one on his hands. Like, it was great. And since it's a return, it happens in this booth. And we did probably like maybe 100 returns at night over the span of a shift and never had any problems at all. But I guess Margaret had decided that things were going too good on the night shift because she randomly decided to pick a review from last night to make sure our customer service was up to par. And so we get called into the office at 11 p.m. as soon as I get there the next day, and she's there, and it's me, Raj, and Julian, because I had happened to have been in the front of the store when I was like sweeping the aisles when this interaction happened. And basically we had this like POS system in the front of the store, and I would have to log whenever I was doing a sweep of the store, and I would start from right there, and it just happened to be right by the customer service booth. So I had heard the tail end of the conversation, and Raj had been called in. I don't know why. Maybe because he's the only other, like, manager person there that's actually kind of in charge of the store, like he actually has power. I don't know, but it's us three in there. And Margaret starts playing this recording, and the insults from the lady are gone, and it's just Julian screaming at this customer. That's what it looks like. The original insults are gone. They're not there. And she's basically like, who do you think you are? You know, I don't understand how you thought you were going to get away with this. I'm suspending you for a week, and we'll discuss the possibility of you coming back as a cashier, but you're lucky if you even get to keep your job. And he's like trying to explain that the lady was insulting him. And Margaret says, don't tell me what my sister was like. I know her. And we put the pieces together. The lady that had come in and done this is Margaret's sister, which is why the recording got randomly selected after all the times that we did return. It had never happened before in the month and a half I'm there, but it randomly happens, and it's edited where the insults are taken out so that way he looks bad. So Margaret's just being spiteful and getting rid of a great manager that ran the store well because, I don't know, her sister apparently is too stupid to figure out the concepts of refrigerators. I'm still not too clear on what we did wrong, but, you know, that's how it is sometimes. Crappy managers ruin things. That's just what they do. If you own a company, having a good manager is probably the most important part. Like, if you don't have that, it's going downhill, but whatever. And she looks at me and Raj, and she's like, I wanted you in here because what did you hear? And so I'm not stupid. Julian's already fired, you know, and he kind of like gives me the look that it's cool. So I kind of explain that he was yelling because I'm not trying to lose my job, all right? Like, I'm not. And he's cool with it, you know, because he's already fired. There's nothing I can do. What am I going to do? Defend him? She's not going to listen to me. It's obvious that this is a spiteful firing. Even if I would have tried to defend him, there's nothing I can do. So I'm kind of like, yeah, he yelled at her. You know, I don't say he's at fault. I don't say anything. I say that I heard her insult him, and she's like, well, that's not what the recording says. And she's the boss in charge of the recording. Not much I can do. So she fires Julian, or suspends him for a week, I should say. He's suspended, and then he's going to come back as a cashier. But she fires him as a manager. He will no longer be in charge of the night shift, which is usually great. So he leaves, and before me and Raj can leave, she's like, you guys work nights tonight. I'm taking over as night manager. And I'm like, damn it. How can my luck get any worse? Not only did the coolest manager that I've ever had just get fired for something that wasn't his fault because this jerk that's like in charge of the store has it out for him because her sister is too stupid to figure out how refrigeration works. But on top of that, now I have to work with this witch, dude. What if she tries to bake me into a pie like Hansel and Gretel? Me and Raj are Hansel and Gretel in this situation. Do you understand that? I'm not trying to be baked into a pie by an evil witch in the back of a grocery store. That does not sound fun to me. I've seen those industrial ovens. They're dirty. They do not clean them enough. So whatever, Margaret is straight harsh in the vibe check. If the vibe check was committed that first night, it would basically be the same as people pulling up to camp, and not a fun one if you're picking up what I'm putting down. The vibe is not good. I pull into work, and Margaret basically tells me to go get the cart, so I do that, and I put my headphones in, and she's like, what are you doing? You represent the store right now. You have to get out there. So for an hour, I have to push carts in silence. Sure, is it the biggest deal in the world? Not really. I'm not gonna quit over it, but it just kind of set the tone for everything that was kind of fun about working here is gone. And when you take all of the fun out of working nights at a grocery store, you realize how depressing it is to work nights at a grocery store. You know, like, it's not a very glamorous job once you take the fun out of it and the friendship. Once that's gone, it sucks, because shockingly, most jobs really, really suck. So whatever, I finish up, I go inside, and I'm like, hey, what do you want me to do? And she says, clean the aisles, which, you know, I usually would do later in the night with Raj, but if she wants it done in a slightly different way, not the end of the world. I can't listen to music, I can't talk to my friend, but I've done it a million times. So it takes me about an hour to clean the aisles, and that's pretty in-depth. Like, I would scrub everything pretty well. So I go back and I say, hey, I finished, now what? And she's like, clean it again. And I go, huh? She's like, yeah, go clean it again. So I'm like frustrated. So I go and I clean the aisles again. And at 1 a.m, or I guess, yeah, about 1 a.m. now, it's not as fun to be awake, and it's not entertaining to be cleaning aisles that you've already cleaned. So I take an hour again, dilly-dallying. I'm kind of like on my phone in the aisles and whatever. Just I'm like wiping it again, but I'm not scrubbing it down again. I'm just kind of wiping it. So I'm kind of on my phone, and I come back and I'm like, hey, okay, I'm done. She's like, okay, go in the back and help Raj. So I get in the back about like 1:30, 1:45, around there, and me and Raj are back there, and like, you know, we get all the orders in, and we like start organizing it, and we organize it. And we're like, okay, well, let's go stock it. And when you get an order, you don't stock all of it right at once. You don't take it all out into the aisles. You take it part by part. So, you know, okay, let's go face the bread first. And then you go out and you would stock the bread. And there were more people helping us. It was definitely not just me and him stocking the store. There was like a stock team, but we would help because, I don't know, it was just easier to help. Everybody got the job done faster, then we could goof off and play Nerf basketball. So we're kind of like going out there, and we have it organized in a very specific way. It worked. Basically, the way we would take the orders in is we would order it strategically so it would get delivered. So as the stuff came in, the aisles were in order. Like, they would try to order it and try their best to schedule it. You can't do a ton with scheduling trucking, but try their best to make it so that we could, as efficiently as possible, just work down into the warehouse, like as we would go across, instead of having to move stuff to get stuff out, you know, we would just work across. And it worked for us. It was pretty efficient, especially because most days we weren't ordering everything in the store. You would have alternating days, so it was pretty efficient. So we go out with the first set of stuff, and we put it on the shelves, and we face it with the stocking people, and we come back in, and everything is out of order. Everything's been moved. Everything's all over the place. Like, nothing's where it's supposed to be. And Margaret's standing there, and she's like, I want it done this way. And the entire staff, not just me and Raj, is like, we've been getting it done ahead of schedule since before you got, like, why? Why are you doing this now? It's been done by now. Usually at this point in the night, we're done. We still have to do half the store. Like, why would you unorganize it if organizing it has worked so well? And she says, this is better. This is the way that I want it done. You're gonna do it this way. And obviously everybody's like groaning and pissed off, and we get maybe another aisle done because we're having to run all over the warehouse and find stuff, and this needs to go. Like, it was just a mess. It was just a mess. For example, there were 2 pallets of Pepsi. She put one of them in the front where we could get to it, and the other one in the back. Like, it was just dumb. It didn't make sense. It was not a logical system the way she was organizing stuff. So whatever, everybody gets it done. We don't get done with the store, though. At 3 a.m., I'm gone, and I'm not staying longer than 3 a.m. because I got school in 3 hours, so I gotta go. So I leave, and everybody's pissed off. The mood, we had like a little group chat, is pissed off because this lady just sucks. She's not a good manager. If the system is working, why would you replace it? If you were a store owner and your night crew was so good that they were getting done like 2 hours early and then had more time to clean up the store and do everything else and make the orders before the day crew got there, wouldn't you be happy? No, apparently this chick was like, I want it my way. That's just how it was. It was her way or the highway. That was it. That was the only way it could be. And for about 2 months, I put up with it, mainly because Raj asked me to. He needed the job. He was going through a hard time at home. He needed the money. He was like, please, can you just stay? You're making it more bearable. Everybody works well with you. You're more efficient than anybody that could replace you. Can you please just stay? So I'm doing it for my friend. I hated it. It was boring. It sucked. I couldn't listen to music. We couldn't goof off. We couldn't play Nerf basketball. And our work got done slower. It got to the point where the day crew was having to show up and help us. That's how slow she had made us. We went from being done before I would leave to now like not being done by 5 a.m. That's how bad it had gotten at one point. And it's just not good. It's not a good system. So everybody's miserable on the night crew. This like once happy family now. We still got along, you know. We would all play Xbox together and stuff, but at work, it sucked. And it was all because Margaret and her stupid managing skills that were not good. They were terrible. So at this point, it had been a couple months since the original incident, and it was getting close to around the Thanksgiving time. And at this point, Julian had been a cashier again for a while, and they moved him
back to being in charge of the night shift. I think mainly because Margaret's a boomer and didn't have a very easy time staying up all night. Like, I think it was hard on her. So we get Julian back, and almost as soon as he gets back, Night Crew gets back to being efficient right away, to the point where the store owner wrote Julian an email basically saying, like, thank you so much. You know, it was really stressing me out because I was getting all these emails about how behind we were with deliveries and we had to have truck drivers waiting. It was just not good. So thank you. And we were efficient and the fun was back. We had Nerf basketball again. We were having a great time. Everything was awesome. It was great. It was literally the best. And then, of course, everything gets ruined on one night. We get through the holiday season, which is always a madhouse, except before, like, 2 weeks before Christmas-ish is around when this is going down. So everything was going great. You know, we get back on track for a couple weeks. Everything's going good, but we get through the holiday rush, which is crazy. There's a lot more deliveries. People are buying more stuff. You get the idea. And, you know, I don't remember, like, a super great timeline, so if some of this overlaps, I'm sorry. Weeks feel, you know, different, like, 4 years later. It's a lot different with time. You guys understand the vibes. So, anyways, a couple weeks after we had gotten back on track, at, like, 2 in the morning, which was when we would be done, like I said, we're in the garage and we're waiting for the next deliveries that didn't get there until 3, which is when I left. And, like, the warehouse is pretty empty. There's some stock, but we're playing Nerf basketball. And it's like all of the stock guys, Raj, me, and Julian, everybody is back there gaming. And, sure enough, like, the garage door, which was usually not supposed to be open unless there was a truck there, comes open, and standing there in her sedan is Margaret with her hands on her hips with the owner of the store. And as it's opening, as if it's in a movie, dude, I shoot a 3-pointer that swishes, but, like, I'm jumping as they see me. So it has to awkwardly be in the air as I'm making eye contact with the fact that I'm definitely about to get fired, just vibing. I don't think oh shit begins to cover everybody's expression. So immediately everybody, like, boofs to go work as fast as you can, you know, because nobody wants to be in trouble. And the 3 slowest people that get called out are me, Raj, and Julian. You know, the trio ends as it began, together. And I'm not too thrilled about what's to go down because I like doing the fun stuff, but like most people, I don't enjoy the consequences. It's really fun to play Nerf basketball, but I don't want to explain to the owner of the store why we're doing it. So sure enough, Margaret starts laying into how we're irresponsible and da-da-da-da-da. And as soon as she starts talking, Raj has a moment where I think he decides, I'm done, I've had enough. And, like, he had this look in his eye like he didn't care. And he goes, shut up, Margaret. And she's like, excuse me? And he starts laying into her about how when she was in charge, they were so behind that they had trucks waiting to deliver because they couldn't get rid of the stuff in the warehouse fast enough, and how everybody was miserable, nobody was having fun. And he's like, I'm sorry that Julian is such a good manager that we get the work done early enough to be able to play Nerf basketball because we're already done and don't have deliveries for another hour. I'm sorry that he's just so much better than you that you couldn't get it done and he gets it done too fast. And Margaret starts being like, well, you guys didn't work as hard for me as you do for him. And Raj is like, yeah, because he's a good manager and you suck. And the owner is like, whoa, calm down. You know, like, I'm here at 2 in the morning because she said that you guys would goof off and the garage door opens to Nerf basketball. So what are we supposed to expect? And he's like, no, if you're going to take her side, like, I'm done because she's dumb. You either fire her or I quit. And the owner is, like, just sitting here dumbfounded. He's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, can't we just get to the bottom of this? He doesn't want anyone to quit yet. He's like, I don't want to make a decision till I know what's up. Because obviously, this is much deeper than just these guys randomly goofing off tonight. I don't know why I'm here. I'm a owner of a franchise of a massive grocery store, but hey, apparently what's going on is important. I really feel so bad for this dude. So there was this family in Henderson, which is where I live. It's like a suburb of Las Vegas. And they owned like all the local grocery stores. And then this corporation bought them out. So they're still like the franchise owners of all of them. But the corporation kind of provides a lot of the financials and profit shares. I don't know how the specifics of it work. I was really not paying enough attention when I was 16 to understand it. But from what I heard, it was like almost like an owner of a McDonald's. You know, he doesn't like own McDonald's, but he owns a McDonald's. This poor guy had gotten dragged here at 2 a.m. because of beef between some old lady and some hotshot manager that did the night shift better. And Raj is like, no, you make your choice right now, or I swear to God, I quit. And he's like, well, then I think I'm gonna have to let you go. And he goes, this, and walks out and he had quit, and we're all just kind of standing there and it's like really, really quiet and silent and just awkward. And Margaret's like, I want him gone too, and points at me. And I'm like, what did I do, dude? So I'm like, why am I getting fired? And she says, well, you and Raj are buddy, so I know that whatever he thinks, you think too, and I don't want anyone to be working with me who's a subordinate. I'm sorry for the Discord messages, by the way, but I'm not re-recording this part. Anyways, the owner does not pass the vibe check and Raj quits. And she's like, I want him fired too. And I'm still confused as to what the hell I did. I don't know why I'm getting fired, but apparently I'm just too dirty because I'm friends with Raj, which, you know, kind of feels like a statement on our Disney-esque friendship. Young white boy and an Indian man learning together in a grocery store. Sounds like a Disney Channel show to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what's up. But, whatever. And that's when Julian decides to tell the owner and Margaret something that I don't think either of them really knew. And he says, well, you do realize if you fire him, he could sue you, right? And they're like, wait, what do you mean? And he says, well, he's not 18 and you've been having him work the night shift for months. You do realize that if he reports that, that's very, very illegal. And the owner and Margaret kind of get all wide-eyed, and he's like, well, I'm not going to fire him. You know, son, if you need anything, be sure to let me know. Like, oh, are you okay? Like, you can't work nights anymore, you know? But they weren't going to fire me. Once that was found out, everybody shut up real quick. And at the time, I didn't realize how fat that lawsuit could have been. Like, I don't know if I still could do anything, but damn, if at the time I knew how fat lawsuits were, whew, I would have been like, no, please fire me. Like, please, 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 please. I need this. I need this. But at the time I was like, sick. I got to keep my job. Stupid me. But yeah, I got to keep my job. Raj quit. Julian stayed night manager, and Margaret got demoted to normal manager instead of super manager, which, you know, very good. I'm glad they got rid of the stupid role of super manager. That's just asking for somebody to make a dictatorship. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, you should follow me on Twitter at Scrubby_69, Instagram at Scrubby. I would really appreciate it. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on those notifications. If you turn on the notifications and you send me a screenshot on Instagram, I shout somebody out every day. Today's shout out goes to Lexi Plexi. Thank you so much for having on notifications. I do appreciate it. And yeah, the merch is still down below because of El Corona. It'll be there for a little bit longer. I think shipping is still going good. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody from Spreadshirt in a second, so, or not Spreadshirt, Teespring. I don't even know which merch one I'm using. I just know the designs are sick. I hope this extra long story makes up for me being gone for a while. If it does, please comment Raj has swag down below. I do not think a lot of people are going to get this far, so, let's see if you can prove me wrong. And if you guys want longer story times, let me know. But on that note, do not get anyone pregnant. And if you do, make sure they're hot. Hopefully, I'll see you guys next time with another video. And yeah, I'm out. Peace.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today I've got a Karen story that was sent in to me. It's been a little bit since we've done one of these, so I figured you guys would enjoy it. But be sure to press the like button, or no joke, no scam, a Karen's gonna move in next door to you, and let's go.
Nice rack and her ass Brazilian. Just turned 21, but my bank's a million.
Anyways, like I said, this was a story that was sent in to me by a subscriber, and I guess he had been living in this house for 18 years, his entire life, you know, which is a pretty long time to live somewhere. You get kind of used to the neighborhood, you get to know your neighbors a little bit, you know, so overall, he didn't really think there was going to be any issues when it came time to, throw his graduation party. Like I said, he lived there for 18 years since he was literally born, so it was time for him him to graduate. He was heading off to college soon, and he had seen like all of his neighbors' kids throw graduation parties and that type of stuff, so he assumed it was going to be no issue, and his parents did too. And it's not like the graduation party that this kid was planning on throwing was like trying to get out of control. It's not like it was even necessarily getting out of control in any way, shape, or form when any of this starts, right? Like, sure, I think everybody would be annoyed if your neighbor started having a party where people were like lighting trash cans on fire and throwing them over the wall and stuff, but this guy's graduation party was pretty standard. Nothing insane. I mean, like, music was playing on a speaker in the backyard that I'm sure you could hear if you were in a close backyard, but I don't think that's necessarily illegal at 4 p.m. It seems pretty normal for a weekend. And on top of that, if it's not something they're doing every day, it's like pretty obviously a special occasion or something. It's just not worth complaining about and causing all these issues. So whatever, the graduation party is going pretty good. Everything's going normally. And then all of a sudden, there's this wall kind of on the back of their like backyard, and water starts kind of flying over it. And the way that the water's flying over, it's kind of like more of a misty spray. So when it starts flying over, people are like, oh my gosh, and start running away from the wall. And the guy and his dad run over there, and the wall's a little bit tall, so like they can't jump and see over it, but they don't hear anyone or anything on the other side. So by the way the water is coming up over the wall, they're like, oh, it's got to be a broken sprinkler or something that's just kind of shooting up into the air. And so the dad tells his son, he's like, okay, well, whatever, we'll just move everything from this wall. Just go over there and knock on the door, see if anyone's home, and just let them know that they have a broken sprinkler, which is the nice neighborly thing to do. If I had a water leak or something, I would like one of my neighbors to let me know so I don't end up paying for it. So whatever, he leaves his graduation party, runs, and like knocks on the door. And he's standing by the door for a little bit, and he hears somebody yell, who is it? And he goes, it's your neighbor. And the door opens, and there's an older woman there that he doesn't recognize. He's lived there for 18 years. He knew who used to live behind the house, and just being caught up in like the last couple months, didn't realize that he had sold the house and moved. So the woman is standing there that he doesn't recognize, right? And he's kind of surprised a little bit. He just wasn't expecting it. And she's like, what do you want? Why do you look so surprised? And he kind of stutters for a second. He's like, and she's like, what do you want? She says it a little bit angrier, a little more demanding. And he says, excuse me, ma'am, sorry, I live in the house behind you. I'm having my graduation party right now. We were all in the backyard having a good time, and I think one of your sprinklers is broken against the back wall, and it's spraying up in the air, and it's getting the party wet. So, it's not a big deal, obviously, but we just wanted to let you know that you have a leak, and if you could like shut off the sprinklers right now since it's broken. And she looks at him and just sneers, right? Like just like just pure disgust for him. And she's like, it's not the sprinkler. It was me with the hose. Do you have any idea how loud you are? Yeah, that's right. Apparently this lady had become annoyed with the fact that they were playing music at 4 p.m. and had like gotten her hose, walked over to the back wall, gotten up on the little ledge there, and started like spraying the hose over the wall to try to disencourage them from partying, which, doesn't necessarily work. It just makes them come knock on the door and ask if there's a leak. But whatever, she's yelling at him, being like, do you know how loud you are? Do you have any idea how annoying it is? And keep in mind, he's standing next to her with the door open. They're outside, right? And he can't hear any music. The music is still playing in his backyard, but he can't hear it. So he's not really sure what loudness she's talking about, because it's just really not loud. Like, there's nothing that he can do about the fact that there just isn't a bunch of loud noises coming from his backyard. It doesn't matter how much she wishes there just isn't. So whatever, he's trying to be nice to her, and so he offers to like just turn it down a little bit. He knows it won't necessarily matter to the people in the backyard at the party, and he knows it might calm her down and get her to stop spraying a hose over the wall. So he's like, all right, well, we're gonna turn it down, if you could just let us know next time if you have any noise complaints. Instead of spraying water over the wall, we would appreciate it. So if there's anything else I need to do, let me know, but we'll turn it down, okay? But please don't spray your hose over the wall. And her arms are folded like she's kind of upset with the fact that he dared to ask her to not spray the hose over the wall. And she's like, well, maybe you should be considerate of your new neighbors before you throw a party, and maybe think about the fact that they might be trying to go through their day-to-day lives while you're too busy in the backyard without a job playing music. And he's kind of like, okay, doesn't really know how to reply to that, because A, he has a job, his parents have a job, and it's just a graduation party. Like, it's just like, okay. He doesn't even really know what to say to that either, because it's not some insane party. Like, whatever, I could understand why somebody would get majorly upset if you live in their neighborhood and you throw a Project X party where, like, it's just chaos. The cops are gonna come. The SWAT team's gonna have to come break up this party. I could understand maybe being a little bit upset, but if someone's just playing music at 4 p.m. on the weekend, I just don't necessarily feel like that's a bad neighbor move. Maybe I would suck next to live next to, but like, I'm not even in my backyard playing music often. I just wouldn't mind if my neighbors did it. So whatever, he just kind of like goes back to the house, and when he walks in, he realizes how dumb the lady was being, because it's not even like it's all his friends at the party screaming in the backyard. He had invited mostly like his parents' friends, you know, because he figured they might give him better gifts for his graduation. So like, it was just a bunch of old people in the backyard and like 80s bops playing. So he goes up to his parents and he kind of explains that like the neighbor was spraying the hose over the wall and she's really mad at me for, you know, playing music, and she says that we were being inconsiderate by throwing a party. And his parents kind of roll their eyes and they're like, all right, well, whatever. If she's gonna be like that, then I guess we can just avoid issues. But how insane. We're not even being loud, we're not being disruptive, and it's like 4 p.m., who cares? His parents were kind of annoyed, but just in the spirit of like trying to be nice neighbors to the new lady, maybe she's stressed out or something, they just decided to like maybe bow down a little bit, so they turned down the music. And just like the guy was explaining, you know, or thinking in his head, he's like, yeah, it didn't really affect the party much. Obviously, most people just like kept hanging out and just acting normally because we turned it down a little and it wasn't a big deal. I don't know, if you freak out because somebody turns down the volume like 2 octaves and leaves the party, then you kind of weren't enjoying it in the first place. So whatever, the music is quieter and it's basically just a normal party now. Everybody's just talking, going about their business as they were. And the rest of the night was pretty eventless. No one comes banging on the door. The party went till like 10 p.m. and the music was playing, so they figured if she wasn't coming and complaining at 10 p.m., then it was probably quiet enough to not cause issues, right? But anyways, the next morning at like 9 a.m., there's this loud banging on the door, just like a firm fist, just bum, 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 and it just doesn't stop. Like, they try to ignore it, thinking maybe it's a delivery man delivering a package early, and it just keeps going. So his parents are like, oh my gosh, who's knocking on the door? So they go to open it, and their son is behind them, and he's like, oh man, it's the same Karen. He doesn't say that out loud, but he thinks it, and it's the neighbor from behind them, standing there with her arms folded, looking immensely upset. And his parents are kind of like, oh, hi, who are you? And she's like, I'm the person that lives behind you that had to deal with the trashy party that you threw yesterday. And the parents are kind of like, oh, well, it's nice to meet you too. And she's like, are you the idiots who decided to throw a party yesterday? An obnoxious party, a loud party, and a party that ended up putting this in my pool? And she holds up a paper plate that's just like a white paper plate, right? And the subscriber's dad is a little bit puzzled at all of this. He doesn't really know what she's talking about. So he's like, did a paper plate end up in your pool? Well, I don't know where the paper plate came from, but it wasn't our party. And she looks at the dad when he says like it wasn't from our party, and she's like, are you an imbecile? It had to have been from your party. Otherwise, where would the paper plate have come from? There wasn't a paper plate in my pool before the party, and after your party, there was. So I'm just saying, maybe use your brain and think about the fact that it probably came from your party. What are we gonna do about this situation? Are you guys going to pay for my pool to be clean so I'm not contaminated by whatever was on this plate? And his parents are kind of like, whoa, this lady is very angry and being condescending for literally no reason, never talked to her before. And to make matters even worse, the paper plate that she accused them of putting in her pool wasn't even the same paper plate that they had been using at the party, dude. So the dad's like, it's not ours. All right, guys, I'm gonna interrupt the video for just 1 second. If you take a look at your screen, there's a gift card code. I give one of these away in every video to say thank you to you guys for subscribing and turning on notifications. So if you haven't already, you should do that. And while I got your attention, press the like button or your mom's a hoe, and let's get back to it. And the neighbor is like, no, these are your plates. And the dad's like, no, they aren't our plates. Those were not from our party. So before you come over here and accuse me of ruining your pool, you might want to get your facts straight, because I'm telling you, those were not the plates that we had. You're being ridiculous. And Karen is like, bull crap, I know this is from your party. If you want to get indicted in front of a lawyer and questioned, then keep this up. But if you just want to end this quickly, then just just pay to have my pool cleaned because I know this is from your party. This isn't the time to play games. I'm not somebody to mess around with. And she's just ranting about how she's going to bankrupt him. She's going to take everything from him. He's going to be homeless when she's done with him. And the entire time that she's doing this, his dad is just stone-faced. He's not scared at all, right? And finally, he walks over to the cupboard and grabs out the paper plates that have graduation decorations on them, right? And he walks over and he goes, "Are you done?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm done. Are those the paper plates that, ended up in my pool?" And he goes, "No, they're these." And he flips the plate around and it becomes very, very obvious that the paper plate that ended up in her pool wasn't from them because they had a graduation party and they had paper plates with graduation caps on them. So it really wasn't theirs. And conspiracy theory Karen just cannot accept reality, dude. She starts lifting off with this theory that, like, they had staged it, put a white paper plate in her pool to purposely make her look crazy. And she starts being like, "I don't know how you did it, but I know this was a part of your plan to make me look like a crazy neighbor. You did this somehow, And, like, I just love this theory, dude. Whatever. Maybe you get mad. You think the paper plate is from the party. That's fine. You go over there. They prove they didn't use those paper plates. And your first thought, instead of maybe I'm wrong, is just like, no, this is a conspiracy theory by Big Paper Plate to make me look nuts and boost the sales of their special graduation plates around June of every year. So that way, people, use their plates for graduation parties. Like, it's just nuts to instantly jump to conspiracy theory that your neighbors planted this on you to make you look crazy because they didn't even know you were crazy yet, right? And then she drops a nugget of information that I wish I had the backstory for, but she's like, "I'm not going to get bullied out of another neighborhood," which is like, another? What does that even mean? Did you go around your last neighborhood accusing people of, like, setting you up to poop in the pool on the 4th of July and how it wasn't actually your poop in the pool or something? Like, how do you get bullied out of a neighborhood for over conspiracy theories twice? So whatever, at that point, it's just obvious to his parents and him that this lady's nuts. So they just decide to, like, shut the door in her face. So they close the door and start talking to their kid. They're like, "What was that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I told you when I went over there yesterday, she was being really unreasonable about, like, our music volume and just being insanely mad. I don't know what it was about, but the lady's clearly a little crazy." And his mom and dad are like, "My goodness, well, whatever, maybe she'll calm down a bit, maybe she's just got some anger issues." So yeah, they just kind of started joking about it as a family. Like, whenever somebody would get mad, they'd be like, "Okay, Karen," that type of thing, as you do. And they think that she'll get over it and leave them alone, dude. But this Karen starts to act like she has a vendetta for them that she's just never going to get over. Like, actually trying to get revenge on them for apparently having the paper plate conspiracy. And every time she sees them outside, she's like, "I know what you did with the plate." She's acting like it's some crazy conspiracy theory that the entire neighborhood is in on to, like, make her look nuts. And they don't need to make her look nuts because you're the one running around saying that the paper plate theory is, like, a real thing. But whatever, one of the things she did for revenge was she had 2 dogs that she would walk by, and she would literally wait outside until they had to use the bathroom, and then the dogs would poop in their yard, and then she wouldn't clean it up. And I think in her mind, she was, like, being really sneaky about it, but she would do it within view of the Ring doorbell that they had. So when they started finding dog poop in their yard, they started to just look at the Ring doorbell and they realized it's the neighbor. So the 3rd time she was doing it, it happened that his parents were home. So they go outside and are like, "Hey, why are you letting your dog poop in our yard and not cleaning it up?" And the Karen, like, covers her face with her hand and just starts running away with the dogs. And the dogs are mad confused, they were like mid-poop, so they start running with her. And the dad is like, "All right, well, I'm not going to chase her down with these dogs. Like, it's just not worth it." So he comes up with his own plan to get a little bit of revenge on the Karen trying to get revenge. So she keeps letting her dogs poop in their yard. So the dad would just go out every day, get the dog poop and put it in a bag and put it in a bucket in the garage. And after like a month or 2, she was still doing this every day. He had a bucket full of dog poop. So he walks over to the wall, gets a ladder, and just dumps all of the dog poop into her pool, right? "This was all over your pool being dirty in the first place. You're gonna let your dog poop in our yard. We might as well put some dog poop in your pool." That was the dad's view of things. Sure enough, she goes out the next day, probably to get a pleasant swim on, only to find her pool filled with crap, and she's furious. And so she starts coming around to their house, assuming it's them, being like, "Now I'm really gonna sue you. You destroyed my pool. I'm gonna have to get a whole new pool made." I don't necessarily know how that works. Like, "Oh yeah, I put dog poop in your pool." They have to come rip out the concrete and redo the entire thing. But whatever, she's just listing off more stuff about lawyers, and she can prove that they did it, and da da-da-da-da-da. And the dad at that point had been talking to everyone about his plan, and so he very calmly pulled out his laptop and says, here's all the footage of you in front of our house letting your dog poop in our yard and not cleaning it up. And at this point, like I said, it had been months of her doing it every day. So he has 50, 60 different clips of her just like letting these dogs poop. And he says, oh, and most of all, I love this. And he has footage of the time they ran out to her and said, why are you letting your dogs poop on our lawn? And she literally ran away, and it's obviously her. And so he's like, okay, this is all the footage that we have. All right, you definitely have been harassing us, letting your dog poop on our lawn every day. When we try to confront you about it and solve it peacefully, you simply would not have any part of it. I don't know what happened to your pool, okay? But all I'm saying is that I have this footage of you doing all of this stuff to our house that I would be more than happy to turn over to anybody that starts looking into what happened to your pool if you're going to accuse me of doing it. And then he looks at her and he's like, I did not dump any dog poop in your pool. But if you open a complaint to the HOA, or want people to start investigating it, then I'll just hand it over. Anyways, at that point, Karen kind of realizes that she might have met her match with this one. This isn't going to be one that she's going to win really easily, just wave around a lawsuit and everyone's going to be like, yeah, you're right, definitely. And on top of that, dude, this guy's mom was the one that had come up with baiting her into keeping the dog pooping and then compiling all the footage. So it wasn't even just like she's 1v1ing the dad. She's got the whole family involved in this Karen fight. So at that point, she's like, well, maybe we can have a truce since you guys are harassing me. So I'll stop my dog pooping here if you guys stop harassing me. And obviously they're like, well, yeah, definitely not gonna agree to that because we're not harassing you. We didn't do anything. I did not put the dog poop in your yard. And on top of that, me and my family haven't been doing anything. You're the one that's been coming to our house every day. And she's like, well, I just feel like you guys have definitely been messing with me a little bit. And they're like, okay, well, we all know that's not true. How you feel doesn't really matter because you're the one that we have video proof of coming onto our property and leaving your dog poop here. And she kind of sits there for a second stammering, trying to come up with some way to get a small victory. She just wanted to walk away with a little chunk of something, can't come up with it. And she's like, well, fine, but I hate you. And they're like, okay, we can sleep at night with that. If Karen hates me, it's all right. So she leaves all pissed off. She ends up having to have a company come clean her pool. I don't know if she had to do that. I'm not a pool expert, or if she just did that because she felt like it and was grossed out by it. But whatever, they don't pay for it. She ends up getting paid for it. And after that, she ends up stopping the dog poop tactic. I think she realized if she kept it up, A, they were filming it, and B, it was just going to end up back in her pool. So instead, she just switched over to the staring daggers tactic, giving them dirty looks as if that was going to make them suddenly be like, you know what, we were in the wrong. Anytime the parents would walk by, she'd just give him dirty looks. Anytime he would skate by or anything, she would just be like, you suck, kind of yell at him a bit, and he didn't really care too much. Because, I'll be honest, if you end up staring daggers at me and being mad at me like that, but I get the victory of putting dog poop in your pool, getting away with it, and you have to pay to clean it out, kind of a W. All things considered, if you just yell at me every time I skate by, I can deal with that. Moral of the story, though, just be nice to your neighbors. I feel like if there's one group of people you don't want to be fighting with and having issues with, it's the people that live super close to you and have access to the place you live. So, yeah, just be nice to your neighbors all in all. But if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate you taking a second to press the like button. Comment the word Karen down below if you missed these stories. It helps the video hit recommended. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on notifications. If you really want to help me out, you can check out the intro song, link to it down below, along with a link to my podcast, The Scuffed Cast, or if you really want to help me out, use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. That's another great way to help me out and get a discount on G Fuel. And last but certainly not least, two more things I gotta shout out. If you want to listen to my story times on Spotify, a link will be in the description. Feel free to go do that. If you don't want to watch the gameplay or listen offline, whatever you prefer. And, of course, we've got the Karen Christmas sweater, which might be the coolest Christmas merch to have ever existed in the history of the planet. Legend has it that if you get it, you get 100% verified on the nice list, so that link's in the top of the description. Feel free to check it out. And on that note, guys, that is going to do it for the video. Hopefully none of you guys have to deal with the Karen neighbor, but if you do, remember the motto, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys all next time with another video. I'm out. Peace. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a story time for y'all that I think you're going to enjoy. It's about this wedding I went to where this mom, ruined her own son's wedding. It was crazy awkward, but it's definitely worth sharing, and I asked my friend, and he said I could tell the story, so GG. But before we get into it, be sure to press the like button. Otherwise, no joke, no scam whatsoever. Your mom is going to ruin your wedding, and that would not be very swag, so definitely press that like button, and let's get into it.
I'm getting quiet now. Laying low when you're rich, so I'm wiping out. Making out, stack the bread.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so as I said, today we've got a story time of a Karen ruining her own son's wedding. I want to clarify, like, this was a family friend's wedding. It wasn't a crazy close family friend. It was just somebody that I had known for a while since, like, I was a younger kid. And, you know, when I got the wedding invite, I did the normal things. I was happy for him. Oh, congratulations, all that good stuff. RSVP'd, and when I called to RSVP, I, like, had called him. We hadn't talked in a while, so we're catching up. And out of nowhere, bro, I was just trying to have a quick little, like, 2-minute conversation and hang up. This dude starts venting to me about how his mom has been acting ever since he got engaged and all this stuff. And as I said, he's not someone that I'm crazy close to, so I'm kind of like, alright, I'm not sure how to respond to this, but clearly you really need to get this off your chest if you're willing to talk to, like, any stranger that calls you about this. So I'm sitting there just listening to him rant about everything his mom is doing to try to ruin his wedding and da-da-da-da-da. And apparently his mom just did really not like his fiance to, like, an absurd level. And you know, I know what a lot of you guys are thinking. Well, like, why does the mom care? She doesn't have to marry her. I understand wanting what's best for your son, but this mom was taking it, like, to the next level of trying to sabotage her own son's wedding. He tells me that, like, him and his fiance had gotten caterers, right? They had set it up, they paid for all the food. Well, one day, his mom had called the caterers and tried to, like, change all of the meals to fish and shrimp, and his fiance is allergic to shellfish, shrimp, so, like, that was just obviously a no-no. There was gonna be no shrimp at the wedding, but his mom calls the caterer and starts insisting that, you know, she changes it to shrimp and fish because she knows what's better and blah 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 blah. She has the approval. And she was trying to be all sneaky and go behind everyone's back and do it. But the caterer calls to just confirm really quick and is like, okay, well, before we change all of this food that's already been paid for and planned, let me make sure that this is something that they want to do. And so the fiance and this guy get a call one day, completely out of the blue. And the caterer is like, hey, are you guys wanting to change all your meals and da-da-da-da-da? And they're like, we have no clue what you're talking about. They confront his mom about it. She admits it and says that she's going to keep trying to sabotage stuff because her son deserves better. Like, that's her words. She's going to keep trying to sabotage his wedding. So him and his fiance have to go through and, like, call all of the caterers, everything that had been hired for the wedding, and, like, have to set up a password system with them. Like, hey, if anyone calls to change anything on this account, it's not us unless we give you this special word. It's this whole thing about how, like, she's trying to change everything behind their back, keeps getting blocked by these passwords. And finally, after she calls a couple more places and tries to change stuff and they, like, tell her no, he has another meeting with his mom and is like, look, you can't keep doing this. I understand you said you were going to do it to ruin our wedding or whatever. The wedding's going to happen, so stop trying to sabotage it. And his mom started saying that because she was paying for part of the wedding, it was her right to control what was going on. And, you know, she had every right to be bossy and change things because she was helping pay for the wedding, which was true. His parents were helping him pay for the wedding, like, at that point. So when she starts doing this, claiming that she's allowed to ruin the wedding because she's paying for it, my friend, you know, he's graduated college at this point. He's got a good job. Just told her, like, fine, and just gave her money back and was like, I do not want you to ruin the wedding. If there's anything else you do, I'm going to uninvite you, but, like, you have to stop. Which is an absolute power move, bro. I have to give the dude credit. Like, imagine your mom's being annoying. I'm paying for this, so I'm allowed to be annoying. And then you're like, okay, and just swipe your credit card. Now stop being annoying. Anyways, I'm still on the phone, bro. I was just trying to RSVP for the wedding, and all this stuff is getting dumped on me. And I'm sitting there, obviously interested in the story, because, like, it's a train wreck. Those type of stories interest me. But I'm also kind of shocked, dude, because, like, this is this dude's mom. Your son is getting married, and you're just hell-bent on preventing it from happening. Like, all right, I understand you maybe don't like who he's marrying. Clearly, after you've tried to sabotage it and had these discussions and he's still not going to break up with her, it's gonna happen. So you might as well just, like, try to make the most of it and get along with the person that's going to be married to your son, you know? Nah, instead she's just, like, trying to go behind their back, cancel the flowers, change the food, just being an absolute psychopath. Anyways, I finished the RSP, he hangs up, and like, I just figured that he had to get it off his chest, he had to vent, he had nobody to talk to about it, so I was probably just who he was dumping it on. And honestly, I had kind of forgotten about it. I figured by the time the wedding rolled around that like stuff would be figured out, or you know, there wouldn't be any issues there, hopefully. I don't know why I thought that in retrospect. It was pretty obvious something was gonna go down. But I don't know, I'm a dude, I was just like, oh, whatever, she'll figure it out before the wedding. Like, I don't know. So anyways, I come to the wedding and I'm kind of sitting down just taking in everything going on, and I'm hearing some like people behind me kind of whispering about how they have to be on the lookout for the mother-in-law because, you know, she might be trying to do some stuff to interrupt the ceremony, da-da-da-da-da. And at that point, I'm kind of like, oh, all right, I guess it hasn't gotten better than before, bro. If they've got the crowd involved in, like, security, they basically got plainclothes police officers at the wedding. Not really, but you know what I mean. Like, all right, everyone in the audience, keep an eye out for this sea hag. If she shows up, arrest her. Like, you know that's got to be pretty tense if you're getting to that point at your wedding. I feel like this is literally, like, the worst case scenario possible. You might get kicked out of your own son's wedding. Anyways, the wedding is getting closer to starting, and in comes this dude's mom, ladies and gentlemen, in nothing other than a white dress, dude. And listen, I might not know a bunch about wedding etiquette, but I know that only the bride is supposed to be wearing a white dress. You know what I mean? And I also know that if somebody else shows up in a white dress, it's basically a punch in the face. Like, that's pretty disrespectful, you know? And when she walks in, some people literally go like, oh, like, what is she wearing? Like, everybody's kind of, oh, this is not going to go down well, right? And before she can even really, like, get in and sit down and start to cause a scene, the girls who were sitting behind me that were talking about keeping an eye out for her get up, grab her on either side of her arms, like so they're escorting her, and just kind of, like, drag her back out, and are like, nope, you're not coming in like that. Which power to them, bro. You're not gonna, like, don't ruin this day because you decide to just have a problem. It's almost like she knew they were going to be coming, though. I figured that would have been a problem. There would have been protesting, but she just kind of, like, smiled, just almost as if she was enjoying the attention of, like, everybody having to come over and escort her out of this wedding because she's in a white dress. And so they leave, and I'm kind of like, all right, well, that's been handled. Maybe she'll calm down. She'll either get kicked out or chill out. Like, those are kind of the two options I'm thinking, right? And a little bit later, his mom comes back in a blue dress. Not a white one. It's a completely different dress. And I'm kind of like, all right, I guess she's probably calmed down now. She clearly had a backup dress in the car. That's insanely petty because it means that she knew what she was doing the first time. You don't bring a backup dress unless you know that your first dress is going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Like, I've never shown up anywhere with a backup outfit ever because I'm also not, like, wearing stuff I'm not supposed to be wearing, you know? Anyways, she comes back in this blue dress, and she's, like, acting fine. She's not really trying to cause problems. She's not looking happy. She looks pissed off, but, like, she's also not trying to argue with anybody. She's just kind of sitting there in her blue dress. And the wedding is starting now, and so everybody's kind of doing the thing. The bride comes down the aisle, blah, 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 blah. They're doing the ceremony, and the part comes where they're like, does anyone have a reason why these two shouldn't be wed? Speak now, forever hold your peace, blah, 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 that part of it. And when that goes down, she stands up. Blue dress woman stands up to say something, right? And then what I can only assume is the bride's mother walks across from the other side, grabs her, pulls her down into her seat, and is like, don't you dare. She was really gonna start interrupting it again, bro. Call me crazy. I think it's kind of weird how obsessed this dude's mom was with him, too. Like, I've known the family for a while, bro, but, like, are you really that pressed that your son's getting married that you're gonna interrupt it? Speak now or forever hold your peace? Like, what are you gonna say? I love my son. Like, what? Why are you interrupting this? Anyways, the moms are kind of sitting there. She's holding her down so she can't stand up. And then, you know, that causes a little bit of a commotion. And the groom turns and looks to see what's happening. And he sees that his mom is the source of this commotion. It looks like there's a little bit of, you know, I don't want to sit down. And he, the groom, in the middle of his ceremony just goes, Mom, if you ruin my wedding, I am kicking you out and never talking to you again. If you do anything else, you're done. And, like, she goes to open her mouth to reply, and he just goes, shut up and sit down. And his mom, dude, it was almost like somebody had just checked her ego. She was out here trying to cause all these problems, blah, 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 blah. I guess your son grew up a little bit because he was just not having it. He's like, this is my wedding? You're being ridiculous. Sit down. The mom's literally in shock from that, so she just kind of shuts up for the rest of the ceremony and, like, just sitting there stewing, obviously looking pissed off, but whatever. You can look pissed off all you want. It doesn't really change anything. Anyways, after the ceremony, we start going to the reception to kind of party a little bit. Like, that's what you do. You go from the ceremony to the fun time. And it gets to the point where, like, they're going to pull out the cake. They're going to do all that type of stuff. And when they go to get the cake, it's taking forever. They had, like, this back kitchen. And it's just taking an insanely long time for the cake to come out. And finally, the caterer comes out, and he's kind of whispering to people. They start talking to the bride, and they look annoyed, like really, really pissed off. And like I said, I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting whispered to. I'm not really involved in this. All I know is it looks like something has happened with the cake that is not an ideal situation. And that's when the cake finally comes out on like this cart thing, dude. But it just looks destroyed. It looks like somebody had like punched it in rage. It looks like somebody had just had a good time absolutely obliterating this cake. And when it comes out and the state of it is seen, the groom just turns and looks at his mom, and he does not look happy. And his mom looks at him, looks at the bride, shrugs, and just takes a sip of her glass of wine, dude. And that was enough. The groom is like, you need to get out of here now. Are you kidding me? You ruined my wedding cake. What is wrong with you? Like, he's screaming at her. And his mom stands up and splashes her glass of wine in his face to just don't talk to me like that. And at that point, he just loses it more. He's like, get out, get her out of here. I'm never talking to you again. Like, he is pissed. As for why she destroyed the wedding cake, I don't know. Like, I really don't know why she did it. Why she was mad at her son for being mad at her for ruining the wedding cake is also really confusing to me. Like, you're gonna splash him in the face with your wine because you destroyed his wedding cake. Oh, I mean, I guess, but like, what? At that point, though, the wedding kind of freaks out. A bunch of people go up there to, like, remove her from the wedding, and she gets dragged out there. And she kind of starts fighting with people while she's getting dragged out, saying that, you know, it's her son's wedding. She has a right to be there. Just because he's making a mistake marrying this girl doesn't mean he has to leave, blah, 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 blah. Like, I understand you might not like who your kid ends up with, right? But at a certain point, just shut up. Shut up. Like, they're literally married now. It's already happened. You had your chance to talk or forever hold your peace. It's in the forever hold your peace part. So just, like, shut up. Now you're making your kid hate you, too. Not only did you not like his bride, but chances are he doesn't like you much either. Now you're just out of his life, dude. So he says, get lost, like, leave. She tries to argue with him a little bit. And, you know, people are still dragging her out. Like, this argument is going on as she's getting pulled out of this event, and they're still going back and forth. And he's like, you always make everything about yourself. Most of my life's dealing with this, da-da-da-da-da. And she yells back something about how he's not her son anymore. I'm disowning you. Like, yeah, she's gonna disown him because she ruined his wedding. And honestly, he looked kind of relieved when he said that. And he was like, good, I don't want to be your son anymore. Fine, I don't care. By all means, now leave. And so she's getting dragged out, and before she's like finally out the door, she goes, where's my husband? Where's my husband? And the groom's dad is still like up there at the table where everyone's sitting, and he's like, yeah, I'm not leaving. She's being crazy, dude. No, like I'm not doing it. He literally starts explaining. He's like, look, I argued with her before we got here to not do this, not cause a scene, not do any of it. If she wants to do it, that's her problem and she can deal with that, but I'm not leaving. So it's so bad that like when she's finally gone and the door slams and, you know, everybody thinks she's gone, that the wedding starts to clap. Like they're just so relieved to not have to be dealing with that anymore that they're like, ah, yay. And honestly, the rest of the reception was pretty normal up until like the very end. Basically, about an hour before everybody started to go home and it really wrapped up, dude, she storms back into the reception pissed off. What's going on, guys? I'm going to interrupt the video for just 1 second. On screen now is actually a gift card code. For those of you that don't know, I give away a gift card in every single video I post here on this channel as a way to say thank you to you guys for subscribing, turning on those notifications, and supporting the channel. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, turn on those noties. I'd appreciate it. And yeah, on that note, I'll shut up and get back to the video. Thanks. And so she storms back in and like walks up to the DJ, grabs the microphone, and is like, apparently she had left this party, right, and gone to a place where she could drink stuff. Now, what she drank, I don't know. Whatever it was, it's very evident that she had quite a bit of it. Like, you know, I'm sad about getting kicked out of my son's wedding. I'm gonna go have a beer. Fine. She had like 40. She couldn't talk, dude. She's having the microphone and just gibberish is coming out. She's babbling some stuff about like the beauty of weddings and marriage and, you know, blah, 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 blah. And at this point, like a group of people come to kick her out, but it's not as much anger and like kicking her out this time as it is just like they kind of feel bad for her, bro. It was embarrassing because it was just pity, just pure like, all right, get out of here. They weren't even mad that she had shown back up. It was just embarrassing. They're like, you just gotta go because you're a disaster. Like, you can't even talk, dude. And the look on the groom's face when she was just screaming on the microphone was just like, I cannot believe. Like, it just pure like, what is going on? You know in The Office when they look at the camera and just give the look of just like, I don't even know what to say right now? That's what I would compare it to. He just looked so defeated on this, man. Imagine you're just trying to like have a good time at your wedding. You just got married and your mom keeps causing problems to the point where you kick her out. And then she comes back, can't talk, and just starts screaming into the microphone about weddings. Imagine having to kick the mom out of the groom out twice, dude. Like, twice. But now imagine having to kick your mom out of the wedding twice, dude. Your mom screwed up your wedding so many times that you had to have her forcibly removed twice. And what's wild about this is like, okay, she ruined her son's wedding. Obviously, she's selfish, but I don't think she understands that, like, she probably also just ruined the rest of the family relationship, too. Like, I don't understand how Christmas is going to be cool now. I don't think everyone can get together and kumbaya in a couple months at Thanksgiving. If you literally were screaming that, like, he shouldn't have married her, he made a mistake at the wedding, ruining it, tried to do the whole interrupt before they got married thing, I don't know how y'all are just gonna, like, oh, whatever, everyone getting along now, it's Christmas. How is the wife gonna deal with that, sweeping that one under the rug? Yeah, I understand that you tried to wear white to my wedding, ruin my wedding multiple times, but Merry Christmas, here's a little gift. So I doubt that he's gonna be hanging out with them much anymore. And I will say the husband, the second time around when she came back, told her to get out. Like, the first time he had kind of just let her get kicked out and was just kind of embarrassed, but this time he's like, you need to leave, are you kidding me? You came back? Even he was surprised she came back. And, you know, speaking of the wife, because it was her wedding too, like my friend's new wife, dude, she took it like an absolute champ. She didn't cry. She didn't seem upset. If anything, she was laughing at her. Like when the mom was really trying to talk crap and hurt her feelings, she was just giggling at her, which made the mom more angry. And that's the power move, bro. If I can teach you anything from this, like if somebody's really trying to get under your skin, drop like below the belt insults, just ruin your wedding, like whatever it may be, the best thing you can do is laugh at them because it just makes them feel pathetic, dude. Like imagine how that mom felt. She's trying to interrupt her son's wedding and she's just like, okay, like this is just embarrassing, dude. You're his mom, really? At his wedding? Oh, this is cringe. After that, though, it wrapped up pretty quickly. I ended up skedaddling a little bit before everybody else just because after she interrupted it the second time, I was like, that's probably my cue to go home. So I said congratulations to everybody. Thanked him for inviting me. He kind of gave me this look and made a joke about like, oh, I bet you this one will end up on YouTube.
What's going on, guys?
It's probably not.
And I was not going to tell this
Hope you guys
video.
are having a great
Like
day.
a couple
I
nights
am
ago,
sorry
he ended up
for
texting
the
me, you are,
I
make sure to
just
press the
out
like
with
button.
my life.
Otherwise,
I'm not
no
sure if the
joke,
upload
no
will be back as
scam.
Everyone all this
Next
time
time you go to your
before.
friend's
Obviously, I
house,
said
his
yes.
mom's
Hey,
gonna
I've got
straight
a
up
parent
dunk
story
you in the
that I
face.
know
It
you
would
guys
be
are
cool
gonna
if
like.
I
This
made
is
right,
actually
guys. I don't make the
something I
rules.
know
I
that
just
Steve
follow
said
it.
guys while
Trust
I
me,
was
if
at
you
the
don't press the
Grace
like
mom
where
out
I
button,
was
your
twice
friend's
and
mom
then
is
thinking
gonna
it's
hit
funny
you.
enough that
Seriously
people
though,
on
guys,
the
today I
podcast
have
get
a
on
subscriber
But
story
yeah,
about
on
the
that
time
note,
that
guys,
no
I think
robbing
that's gonna
here.
do it for
That
the
being
video.
said, I tend to wake up a
You
bit
did, I
early
really
now,
appreciate
so
you
when I
taking
went to the
friends and
store,
friends
it was
and
like
like
a
that.
weekday
I
morning.
I don't know. I
so
feel like
it's
it's a
pretty
little
dead. It was
awkward to
not
carry
like-
on a
If you
friendship.
don't
Not
know
like
what to
eerie
comment,
quiet. It
comment
didn't feel like I was in the
down
apocalypse
below.
or anything, but
If
I
you're
was just
new,
kind of
make sure to
aware that
subscribe
like
and
the
turn on
store
those
wasn't
notifications.
popping
I try to post
Saturday
daily.
at
I
9
guess
a.m.
like
But I was just kind of grocery shopping,
trying to
doing
post
my
daily.
things,
There is
literally
no
trying to
to
pick out what type
never
of
miss
bread
another
I
video.
wanted.
Did it again.
Really want to support the channel. You
I don't know, there's like a medical emergency or something, or maybe one of the stalkers realized they're out of green beans. I have no clue. I just didn't really think that there would be anything going on involving a Karen screaming at a worker this early in the morning, thinking you roll out of bed, you'd just be like,
that's right. White riddle.
Some of Chuck
I didn't know people were up at like 7 a.m.
Not only
still
am I going to
angry
play
at the
Steve
world,
Ball
maybe
with
they just
absolute
go run and
swag,
get their beauty
but I'm
sleep.
also
But regardless,
going to
I
be
hear
enjoying
screaming, so
some
obviously
delectable
I go to
entertainment
look.
from the
And as I come
animatronic
around the
friend.
corner
So
with my cart
he's on his way
towards
to
like
his
the
friend's
front of the
house
store where
hype
the
because he knows
registers
he's
are,
going
it
to
kind of
Chuck E.
comes
Cheese.
into view, and
he
I can
gets
hear the
there,
Karen way
and
clearly
his
now, and I
friend's
can
parents
see
are
her.
divorced,
And
he had
she's
only ever
yelling
hung out with his
something
friend
about
at
how
his
like
dad's house. And he
technically
gets there, and
this
his
is
mom
legal
seems a
tender,
little bit
so
crazy,
because she's in
you know when you meet
America, an
somebody and they just
American
have the eyes
citizen,
of
the
a
store
crazy
has to
person.
take it as
His
payment.
mom's got some crazy
And
eyes, but
she's
whatever,
just
they're
going
going to
off.
Chuck E.
And I don't
Cheese,
even
it's
know
gonna
how
be a
we've
great
gotten
time.
here,
So they
but
hop
like
in the car with his
obviously
mom,
I'm a little
and
interested.
immediately
I
he
don't know why
notices
the
that his
grocery
mom is a
store
little
wouldn't take
unhinged
her money,
'cause she's
right?
driving
Maybe I
like a
would be
maniac.
irritated
Like,
too if I
his
pulled out
mom
a
is
$100
basically
bill to pay
driving
with my
like you
groceries
would
and
if
they're
you
like,
were in a
sorry, we
Grand
don't
Theft
take
Auto
cash. I'd be
video
like, well,
game,
this
you
is
know?
money. you have to take it. So obviously I just start kind of listening to the situation. I'm not trying to be nosy, but I'm just watching it unfold. And I moved a little closer, and she's still going off about how, you know, due to the Federal Reserve policy and blah, 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 this is legal money and they have to take it and da-da-da-da-da, just going off, saying a bunch of statutes and laws and all this stuff. And I'm sure there's got to be more to the story because I just don't really understand why the store would just be denying taking her money. Like, yeah, she's ranting about how it's legal money, but clearly there's something about this money that's off if they're not taking it. And that's when I finally hear the cashier speak for the first time. She had just been ranting about how, you know, this is real money. Ma'am, it's not real money. Which instantly kind of explained why they're not going to take it, right? Like, the cashier is just like, look, this isn't money. I can't take this. And the Karen snapbacks that, like, the United States has printed endless money. This is actually worth much more, and it is legal tender, as said in Section 4, Paragraph 5 of the U.S. Constitution. And the poor worker goes, ma'am, I can't take precious metals as payment for your groceries. And at that point, I'm super confused. I mean, I guess the U.S. dollar used to be based on, like, the gold system. There used to just be, like, a vault of gold, and technically every dollar was exchangeable for gold. But I didn't think that you could just, like, take a gold nugget to the store and be like, that right there's $60 worth. I don't know if she knows her laws right. Maybe I'm an idiot, but, you know, I also feel like stores want money. It's not like Roman bartering days. Like, is this lady really carrying around a satchel with just a half pound of gold at all times in case she feels like buying a car? Like, I didn't realize people literally carry precious metals around to try to, like, buy stuff with it. Anyways, the Karen apparently doesn't like the fact that this cashier is not going to take the precious metals to pay for the groceries. Because, you know, it's the 21st century. They're not going to be taking her gold and pressing their own coins or anything. And so the Karen just starts going off.
Believe it or not,
if you're not going to take this money that you're supposed to legally take as outlined in the U.S. Constitution, then you're going to have a big problem on your hands because I've already picked out these groceries. I don't think that they're going to have a big problem on their hands. It sounds like you might, you know, it sounds like you picked out a bunch of groceries at the grocery store and didn't bring any way to pay for it other than like a gold nugget. I don't even know what she had, what precious metal it had been. For all I know, it could have been like a cup of copper, dude. Who knows? But regardless, I'm just like insanely confused listening to this go down because now she's going off about how it's their problem that she has a cart of groceries she can't pay for. And listen, I guess maybe she thought it would be really annoying to put it back, but the reality is, as someone who worked in a grocery store, there's probably a dude whose job it is just to run stuff back and like put stuff away if people don't end up buying it. So sure, I guess it would be unfortunate for that dude. But at the end of the day, it's definitely way more of a your problem thing if you picked out all these groceries and need food and you didn't bring money. I mean, yeah, I know stores want to make money, but like, you know, what did you expect the cashier to do? Oh no, please take this food for free. I do not want to have to put it back, especially because this worker's not making money off the store selling stuff. They're getting an hourly pay rate. You know, sure, the store has to be profitable to stay in business, but do you really think this cashier in particular is like, oh no, man, please do not put back your frozen potatoes? Like, I just don't really feel like there's any reason for the cashier to care at all. Either way, though, Karen kind of continues her rant about how, like, this is your problem, you're going to give me these groceries for free, da-da-da-da-da, and obviously they're just not going to give away the groceries for free. I'm listening to all of this while, like, pretending to look at this little end cap aisle of cereal thing, and I'm probably looking at the back of the cereal box for 5 minutes, dude. I can tell you all the nutritional facts. But regardless, you know, the worker is like, I can't give you these groceries for free. It's not my fault that you didn't bring payment, you know. That's just really not how it works. And I could tell that the cashier was starting to get annoyed because the customer service voice had started to falter a bit, and like she said, it's just not my fault you didn't bring away to pay. You know, usually you'd be like, oh man, that's very unfortunate. If you could please find an alternative form of payment, you'll be able to push through this transaction. Nah, they were like, listen, you're stupid. You didn't bring money. And it would have been better if I could have seen like what she had, dude. I'm just imagining some big like gold nugget just sitting on like the scanner, dude. But yes, the cashier confirms that in fact they are not allowed to just give away free groceries because someone demands it and apparently brought a gold nugget to pay and they can't take it, so that's their fault and they get free groceries. I feel like if this was a known store policy, like if this did work, no one would ever pay for groceries. I would just do this all the time. Not in a bad way, but if it really was like I could just take a gold nugget somewhere, and if they were like, I don't know what to do with this, I got stuff for free, everyone would do that. You just go to a Lambo dealership, they're like, that'll be $400 grand. No, my friend, do you forget that I have have a cube of zinc. Yes, that is right, precious metal. So I will be taking 4 Lamborghinis. Anyways, so now that Karen has gotten the confirmation that she's not going to be getting the free groceries, she decides to double down and scream that she's just going to take it then, and starts just pushing the cart out of the store. Now, in stores like this, there's not a whole lot of security. There was like one guy. And the thing about security in stores like this is they can't really do anything. Like, the law makes it that they basically just have to let you steal stuff. They're not allowed to tackle you. They're not allowed to, like, prevent you from taking things. They can't grab the cart. Basically, they can just follow you and, like, take your picture and go, don't steal that. And, like, that's really it. Their hands are tied. And I think that's stupid, bro. But, you know, it's the way the law works. And obviously, they're not going to go to jail to, like, prevent this lady from stealing groceries. So she starts taking the cart out, and the security guard is like, hey, man, please don't take that. Please don't take that. And this one guy is, like, following her out the store, just saying again, please don't take the groceries. And she's just ignoring him, walking towards the door. And I honestly thought that she was going to take him. Like I said, when I worked in a grocery store, we would have it happen. That's how I know they're not allowed to do anything. Like, there's been plenty of times I just had to watch some dude walk out the door with a cart full of groceries he didn't pay for because my boss is like, you can't do anything, and neither can I. So I just assumed that was going to happen. But it was almost like when she got to the door of the grocery store, guilt hit her for a second because she finally just stops the cart and she goes, fine, I guess I don't want these groceries. And he goes, thank you for not stealing them, ma'am. And her response to not being able to steal these groceries isn't just a normal reaction of like, you're welcome for not stealing them and leaving the store. At that point, I would have been like, getting out of there. No, she then starts screaming at the security guard about how this entire store is going to be hearing from her lawyer because, you know, they have to accept legal tender here. There's no way that they're able to run a business without the ability to take precious metals as payment. Just a whole laundry list of just things that I don't think are true. Like, alright, I need fact check on that one. I can't guarantee you what stores have to do. That being said, I just don't feel like it's 1882 anymore, man. I feel like there's not a whole lot of people whipping out precious metals to pay for stuff like a check in the 80s. And so she storms out of there after yelling for a bit and she leaves the cart. And, you know, obviously I'm glad she didn't steal the groceries, but I was just kind of confused as to why she was committing that hard and then not. Like, stealing is wrong, you know, but I thought the gold bug had already made a big enough scene and, like, storming out of the store with the guy following her saying don't steal stuff. I just assumed she was going to take it. Either way, though, you know, they took the cart to the back, probably put all the stuff back. It wasn't that big of a deal, you know, no one's day was ruined, Karen. But, yeah, she left, and after that I went back to consuming my groceries, or not consuming, putting them in the cart so I could buy them. Don't consume them before you buy. No. So, you know, basically what ended up happening, finished, checked out, went to the car, went home, and instantly knew that it was going to be a video for the channel. But yeah, that's the Karen who apparently expected free groceries for some reason. Seriously, dude, I just can't believe that this lady thought she was about to bust out the precious metals to pay for stuff. Like, she was going to bring Skyrim bartering to the real world, dude. Yes, very nice. You can have the store yourself. Regardless, that's going to do it for the video, guys. I know this one was shorter. I just thought it was funny. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you can press the like button. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought. And, of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications, baby. If you really want to help me out, I do post these on Spotify, so you can listen to them offline without gameplay, whatever floats your boat.
I think that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout, and hopefully I will see each and every single one of you guys soon with another video.
Link will
Don't
be
get
down
anyone
below in the
pregnant.
description if you want to check it
they're
out.
hot,
No
I'm
pressure
out.
though.
Peace.
Other than that, get yourself some of the OG Sub Club merch before it's gone forever, and use code Scrubby at the G Fuel checkout if you want to be a massive savage. It helps you out, helps me out, and you know, you get some good G Fuel. Other than that, follow me on Instagram at Scrubby_69. And, or that's the Twitter, sorry. Instagram is just at Scrubby. And, yeah, don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time with another video. I'm going to go beam a kid upside the head with the skee ball now. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.
Alright, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Scrubby here, back again with another video. Today I've got a story time of arguably the most entitled Karen I've ever heard about. So, I figured you guys would enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Alright, so basically this story was sent to me by a subscriber, and I guess his neighborhood is a little bit like a normal suburb, you know, where your neighbors are relatively close together, and like, there's really no way to ignore one another if somebody's annoying. You know, if somebody's just like up in your business, constantly bugging you, you don't live far away enough from them to be like, hey, mind your business, because them just kind of walking around the neighborhood makes stuff their business, you know? And obviously, there's not really many situations where you're ever trying to annoy your neighbor, and this subscriber was not trying to annoy anyone. But one day, you know, he was hanging out doing his thing, playing PlayStation, and his dad came into his room, and he's like, look, you need to clean the garage. And his dad doesn't necessarily ask for a whole bunch. He gets to spend most of his time goofing off, so he figured that, like, he should just clean the garage and not make a fuss about it, which, you know, is fair enough. Hey, you get to play video games, you gotta clean out the garage once a year. I feel like that's a pretty fair trade-off. So he went out into the garage, and obviously just to make it, like, a little bit more entertaining, he decided to turn on some music. And they didn't have a Bluetooth speaker out there, so he just ended up turning on this, like, old radio that his dad had out there. And obviously the radio kind of sucks because, like, every song there's 47 commercials, but it's better than nothing, so he just kind of had tuned it into a local radio station. And, you know, he was kind of laughing at the fact that, like, most songs today, if you play them on the radio because they have to censor everything, like, half the song's not there. And he was thinking about how lame it is listening to the radio and how he wished he had a Bluetooth speaker so he could just hear the real version of the song, right? And so regardless, he kind of just starts cleaning out the garage, listening to this radio that he has set up right there, and he starts to hear what sounds like something coughing up a lung from behind him. And he hadn't really expected anyone to be there. He had opened the garage because the weather was nice and he didn't want to sweat too much, and he turns and he sees this lady at the bottom of the driveway, and he realizes that the noise he's hearing is coming from her. She's just kind of standing there loudly clearing her throat over and over again, which I have to say is one of the most rude ways to get someone's attention. I mean, I would honestly rather have somebody, like, snap at me than, like, start clearing their throat to get my attention because, you know, obviously they're both insanely rude, but, like, there's something about is just like, dude, address me like a person, my goodness. Regardless, the guy decides to ask the Karen who's just standing at the bottom of the driveway doing it over and over again if something's in her throat. And she kind of snaps at him, no, nothing's in my throat, but since you are asking, can I ask why you think it's appropriate for you to play profane music so loudly from your garage? And just the way she had said it, he could tell that it was like trying to be super confrontational, you know? It wasn't like asking a question, hey, can you please turn it down a little bit? It wasn't very loud, but like she didn't have to come at him and be like, why are you playing profane music loudly? And on top of that, the subscriber is really confused because he had walked to the end of the driveway to talk to her and he couldn't hear the music very much anymore. Like he could very faintly. And on top of it, as he had already like mentioned, it's the radio. So there's really no way for it to be that profane. Like I guess the song material itself, but they're going to be censoring every swear word, you know, anything that they deem too inappropriate for public airwaves gets censored. So there's really no way that anything that's playing can be like that insanely offensive. So he tells her, oh yeah, I'm sorry, you know, I can turn it down for you if you want, but it's just the radio, so it can't be anything that bad. And, you know, in my opinion, that's a pretty fair explanation. He's like, look, I'll turn it down a little bit. It's just the radio, so it's not that bad. Hits all the complaints and says, I'm sorry. But you would have thought, based on her reaction, that he had just decided to listen to that complaint and then rattle off every single swear word in the dictionary, like just based on how she ended up reacting instead. Well, I don't think that I'm sorry cuts it, mister. Even if the radio censors swearing, I shouldn't have to hear a peep from your garage while I'm on my walk. I do not want to listen to your radio when I'm on my walk. I want to listen to the sounds of nature in the neighborhood. So listen to me, young man. Get over there to that radio and you turn it off. And he's just kind of standing there staring because he's like, what is going on? So she repeats herself, turn it off. And at this point, the subscriber is just super confused because like he just really can't understand why she's so mad. He had literally opened this by trying to apologize and say, hey, I'll turn it down, but it's not that bad. And so the fact that she's now screaming at him, being insulting, being like, you need to turn it off and demanding he go do it, he decides that he's not going to do that and he's just going to stand up for himself a little bit, which I don't know is always the best decision, the most entertaining for a story, sure, but you know, sometimes if people are a little crazy. You should just walk away. Well, and he says, you know, you are more than welcome if my music is so loud and distracting to call the police or file an HOA complaint, you know. I've offered you to turn it down. I'm not doing anything wrong, so I'm sorry. I was gonna turn it down, but now I'm no longer going to, so you can listen to the radio for all I care. Which, you know, little petty, but that being said, if some lady's screaming at you after you already offered to turn it off, it's like, all right, I don't know, do you kind of earn the right to be a little bit petty at that point? And she just starts yelling at him. If you do not turn off that radio in the next 10 seconds, then I'm gonna go over there and turn it off myself. And the kid started to laugh because he was like, well, that's insane. It sounds like you're threatening, you know, a little kid in like first grade. I'm gonna count to 10 or whatever. But then the Karen literally starts counting down backwards from 10, which I don't think has ever worked to get anyone to do anything outside of like, yeah, kindergarten or first grade, you know? 10, 9, like, is he supposed to just run over to the radio? Maybe when I was 8 and my dad started counting down from 3, I was horrified and it would work. But I just don't think a random person I don't know, just like demanding I turn down my music and then counting, is gonna do anything to anyone. Like, you know, call me crazy. I feel like if somebody was like, dude, anytime someone starts counting down, I just have to do anything they say, I'd be like, that's not normal, bro. Oh, go rob a bank. 10, 9, he's like halfway there, you know? Regardless, she's doing her countdown and this guy couldn't care any less, but he decides to mess with her a little bit. And so as she's counting down, she gets to 3, you know, 3, 2, and as she gets to 2, he just starts sprinting over to the radio. And he assumed that she would think that like he's going over there to turn it off, you know? And he gets over there and he looks at her and he goes, I'm so sorry. And he turned it up a little bit. Not enough to like be insane, you know, and blow out anyone's eardrums or anything, but he turned it up just enough for it to be noticeable. Not enough to disrupt the neighborhood even, but just enough. Because he wasn't trying to disrupt the neighborhood, you know? He had just wanted to annoy the situation, and it kind of worked. The Karen took it as a challenge, and she starts kind of walking up the driveway, like into his garage, and at that point he tells her, he's like, whoa, 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 you can't come in my garage, this is my property. You know, please don't come in here, you can stay on the street, we can argue, but like, don't come in here, you're making me feel weird, you know? And obviously he was still being a little bit petty, but at the same time, you don't want strangers just like walking into your garage, especially when they're mad at you, you never know. And the Karen starts to like go off about how she can go anywhere she wants, she has the right to turn off whatever is disrupting her peace, and she didn't care if it was his property or not. So she starts like walking into the garage angrily, and at that point, you know, the subscriber's like, all right, I'm gonna go get my dad because this is out of control. So he goes inside, and as he's going inside, he sees the Karen kind of walking over to the radio, and he figures that she's gonna turn it off, and by the time he gets back out there, she's gonna have ran away, right? Because it'd be really weird if she was still there when he got back. So he goes and gets his dad, and they come outside, and the music is now insanely louder. I guess, like, you know, the Karen had started trying to turn off the radio and only had somehow managed to turn it up, which is hilarious to me, dude. If you're gonna storm the garage and try to turn off the radio, I feel like the requirement is you have to turn it off. You can't just like sit there and be fumbling with it and accidentally make it louder. At that point, you kind of are the reason for the noise complaint, right? Like, if you're gonna storm into someone's property, you should never do that, but at least turn off the radio quickly. She could have had this whole Catwoman Karen thing going on, just like this half mythical creature roaming the neighborhood, turning off whatever sound was coming from the garage, you know? I went inside for a second, I came back out to my JBL speaker destroyed. I'm telling you, something's out there, Dan, turning down the volume on my radio. Every time I go into the garage, it's eerily quiet. I hate it. You know, you could have had that going on. I feel like turning off a radio isn't that difficult. You could have had some mythical Bigfoot thing going on. Anyways, though, this guy's dad gets out into the garage, and obviously his first question is like, who are you and what are you doing? Which is a normal reaction to a stranger, like holding your electronics in your garage that you've never seen. You know, who are you, if anything, is a nice reaction. I feel like most people would be like, get out of my property or I'm calling the cops, maybe freaking out, you know, a little angry. The fact that he's even opening up with like, who are you and what are you doing is already nice, right? But the Karen turns and just the anger in her voice. I'm your neighbor and your son has been insanely disrespectful, playing music on the radio so loudly, and on top of that, the music he's playing is vulgar and disgusting, and I will not stand for it in my neighborhood. This is my peace and quiet, and I refuse to let it be, you know, destroyed by some music. And she's going off on this rant about how apparently this dude's music from the radio is just the most peace-destroying thing of all time. It's not very loud. And the dad says what everybody else is thinking at this point and is like, you know, no offense, but if he's playing on the radio, it can only be so bad because they censor a lot of stuff. And even then, you know, even if my son was out here just blasting swear words on the speaker, it's not really anything that gives you the right to storm into my property and and start touching my stuff. Sure, is it rude and disrespectful if my kid's doing that? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you can just like storm in and start destroying my speaker because you don't like what it's playing, you know, which is fair.
Anyways, the Karen is there processing that for a bit, you know, the gears are turning. She's trying to think of a way to justify coming into the garage and attacking the radio for no reason, because the dad's explanation is pretty solid, you know, even if it was the most annoying music of all time, it doesn't give you the right to just walk in here and start attacking someone's property. Yeah, we can agree that some people's music taste is absolute garbage. I think that's just something everyone could agree on. It doesn't mean you get to like walk up to their car and turn down the volume on it, you know. But for some reason, she decides to go with probably the most lame excuse she could possibly think of, which is, you know, well, I don't like to hear it, and I shouldn't have to hear it when I walk by your house. I think it's absurd that I have to hear anything when I walk by your house. Which, listen, man, then like, I don't know, keep walking if you don't like what you're hearing. And everybody kind of has a moment where they stopped and like had to process how dumb it was, because like, I don't know, that really is the easiest solution to this at all. If I was walking around the neighborhood and someone was playing really, really loud music, right? I have this ability to keep walking. You don't have to let it turn into some giant argument where then you're like storming into someone's property and threatening to destroy their electronics and stuff. No, you could just keep walking. Like, sure, it's annoying. No one's gonna argue with that. But that being said, it's not like this music's insanely loud. And on top of it, if you're the person in their garage shaking their electronics, you are now crazier than the person playing the loud music. And the dad's not really vibing with that, and he asks directly, like, why didn't you keep walking if you hated the music so much? Which is a relatively fair question to ask. You know, he's still not really like losing it for somebody that's having a stranger in his garage holding his stuff being like, your son's an idiot and disrespectful. Just asking the questions that matter. You know, if you really hate it so much and you could just avoid it, then why not just avoid it? I feel like that's way easier than having to turn this into some giant battle. And the lady's response is, well, why should I have to keep walking, you know? And the answer is, because it's not your house or your radio, and you don't live near here. And the dad asks her, he's like, look, where even is your house? Is it close? Because I know everybody that lives directly around us, and I don't think you're in any of those houses. And she gets really quiet, and she's like, I live near enough for it to be able to be my problem, which is convenient. And he's like, all right, well, where do you live? Like, how close are you? And she goes, well, okay, fine, I live a street over, but I walk this street every day. And listen, man, if you don't even live close to the house that you're standing in the garage of, screaming at them to turn down the music, you know, I'm really unsure of how it's any of your business. Like, you literally could have kept walking. You didn't have to charge the garage and try to turn off the radio, you know, just go back home a street away. And yeah, now it's magically not a problem. You can't hear it anymore. I feel like that would have been the easiest solution. The fact that you don't even live near here makes this entire interaction like 1,000,000% stupider. And so, you know, the Karen starts to stammer a bit because the dad starts to hit her with questions that she answers, which, you know, if you're trying to look good, I don't know why you would answer this way. He's like, well, can you hear it from your house a street away? And she's like, no. And he goes, can you even hear it from 2 houses away? And she says no. And then he kind of looks at her and he's like, all right, so I'm not really understanding why this is a problem. You know, if you can't even hear it from your house, then like, why are you so mad that you're running into the garage and grabbing stuff? If it's not audible from your house, then it's not your problem. Not saying I would ever be on Team Karen, you know, but if he really was blasting music so loud that she could hear it clearly in her house a street away, I can understand her being pissed, because that's just like inconsiderate. And, you know, there's just no reason to be playing music that loudly in a neighborhood. Seriously, dude, like, what? You're just gonna wake everybody up and force them to listen to your music? But that's really not what was happening here, you know. But even if in the case of them playing music insanely loud, you still can't run into their house and break the speaker. You can just get mad about it. If you can't even hear it from 2 houses away, though, there's nothing that you should be upset about, you know. And as she's stammering, the dad is like, all right, so if you can't hear it from 2 houses away, then I want you to put down my radio and get out of my garage, you know. And the Karen sets it down and like hasn't said anything and just starts to walk out of the garage. And she's walking down the driveway, and they can tell that she's like getting mad. She has her fist balled up, and she gets to the road again. And it's almost like when she gets to the road, she gets like a second wind of courage, you know. Reinforcements of crazy had arrived, and nothing was going to stop her, because now that she's at the bottom of the driveway, she turns around and starts screaming at them again.
Look at how inconsiderate you were of your neighbors. You have no respect for the people
peace and tranquility of this neighborhood, and it's insane. You know, the irony of the fact that she's now screaming all of this way louder than the music would have ever been, you know, is not hitting her. I'm just saying, if you go to the end of the driveway and start screaming, and the music wasn't audible from the end of the driveway, now there's just a lot more noise and the entire neighborhood's gonna be annoyed. At least before it was contained to only you being annoyed, you know what I mean? She stops yelling for a second, you know, almost deciding at that point that her yelling was louder than the music, but she just decided to keep going because, you know, that's just what she did. So she starts going, I'm yelling because of how inconsiderate you are to the peace and quiet. I understand that yelling might go against that as well, but I wouldn't have to yell if you would just turn off your radio. And obviously it's just like, all right, now we're not going to turn off the radio. They probably would have before, but now you can't. So the dad just looks at her and goes, all right, you have fun with that. Then I guess you can stand here and listen to the music. And he hit the garage button. And so the garage starts closing and she's at the end of the driveway and she's not like rushing the door or anything. She's not going to try to do a secret agent. Like, you know, when they slide underneath the door that's closing, that's not going to happen. It's not special ops Karen, you know, but the door closes and the dad turns to the son and he's like, look, go ahead and play your music. Don't worry about it. And so he just kind of goes back to cleaning the garage and he assumes at that point that it's over. So he turns back on the music at a lower volume. He really was not trying to make anyone upset, you know, and he just goes back to organizing the garage. And what seemed like a retreat by the Karen had actually been a false retreat for her to gather backup, you know. As you know, Karens often travel in packs. They tend to do this thing called overwhelm and destroy. You get two Karens yelling at you, it's too overwhelming. Because about 10 minutes later, there's some banging on the garage door, and it sounds pretty loud, so he goes to get his dad just because he was scared, and he figures it's somebody coming back to argue with him about it. So he gets his dad, and when they come back to the garage, the banging is now even louder on the garage door. And so his dad hits open, and as the garage door is coming up, they see 4 sets of legs, so they can be like, all right, there's 2 people here, you know, there's at least more people than there was before. And as the garage door is coming up, it becomes more and more clear who's standing there, and it's Karen again, and what they think is her husband, and they both start yelling in tandem, almost like they had practiced this a bunch, you know, like, all right, let's yell the exact same thing in unison so it just scares everybody. 2 Karens, same thing, screaming in unison is quite impressive, and they just both are yelling about how, you know, what they did was so disrespectful and they can't believe the music. Keep in mind, it's even quieter now. Like, they had really gotten so mad that they decided to come confront them by banging on the garage door. And now their new thing is that they're demanding that Karen gets an apology for embarrassing her when they found her in the garage, which, out of everything you could ask for an apology for in this situation, is probably the dumbest. You probably get an apology for the music, you know, but like, how are you going to demand an apology for someone getting upset when they walked into their garage and saw a stranger touching their stuff? I think everybody in that situation would yell a little bit. If anything, I feel like someone walking out and seeing a stranger in their property and yelling is a pretty calm reaction. The dad at that point, though, realizes this is getting a little bit out of control and he wants to rein it back in, so he looks at the Karen and, you know, guy Karen, and he's like, look, okay, this has gotten out of control. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stop playing the music, all right? We will stop playing the music, but I'm not going to apologize for telling someone not to touch my stuff when I don't know them. You know, I came outside, there was a stranger on my property, I didn't know what was going on. I'm not gonna apologize for that, but I'll turn it off. And the Karen seems to be on board with that. You know, she's like, all right, that's probably the biggest win we're gonna get. We'll leave it there, fine. She had just wanted the music off. I think she realized that, like, they weren't going to apologize because they hadn't really done anything wrong. Getting the music off is a W, so they should just take it and leave because, you know, if you keep the argument going, you are more in the wrong than them, so you just take the small victory and walk. But at that point, her husband decides to go full nuclear Karen, dude. He just starts yelling, that is not enough. You need to apologize. You need to get on your knees and grovel for me to forgive you, and if you don't, there's gonna be consequences. And even Karen is like, all right, you guys don't have to do that. It's okay. And she starts trying to pull him away. And he's like, no, they need to grovel. I mean, literally get down on your hands and knees and beg for me to forgive you.
And at that point, you know, the subscriber's dad is like, all right, dude, listen, we will turn the music off, but if you keep screaming like that and getting aggressive, I will call the cops. You are on my property. I'm not going to apologize, and I'm certainly not going to, like, get on my hands and knees and beg for forgiveness because you weren't here. You know, we'll turn off the music, but you're out of your mind if you think that I'm going to, like, get on my hands and knees and beg for you to forgive me. I don't even know who you are. Like, go a street away, go do your thing. And I want to give Karen some credit. You know, she had been insane a little bit earlier. Maybe she was a little mad when she stormed the garage or whatever, but she was doing her best to defuse it now. She's like, all right, it's fine. Let's just stop. You know, they're going to stop playing the music. We're good. It's over. It's okay. But the husband is like, no. And in fact, you want to threaten to call the cops if I come into your garage and do something about it? Go ahead. By the time they get here, like, I'll have beaten you up already. And at that point, his dad's like, all right, that's enough. I'm going to call. And he just starts closing the garage door. And Karen's holding the dad back from, like, or not the dad, the husband from rushing the garage door. And the garage door closes and he calls his brother. You know, I guess he didn't want to, like, call the actual police, and he just pretends that he's on the phone with them. And whatever, you know, I don't know why he didn't want to call. At this point, they 100% should have. I feel like this was the mistake. This dude's standing in your driveway screaming he's gonna beat you before you get to call the cops. That's kind of a reason to. But whatever, he's just kind of pretending he's on the phone, and it does scare them off. They literally hear them out there being like, go, 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 they're calling, and like they were wearing flip-flops. Worst thing to challenge someone to combat in, flip-flops, you know, but whatever. They literally hear their flip-flops like going down the road away from the house, so they had worked, they had ran off, and at that point, he's already on the phone with like his brother, so, you know, he figures they're gone, and he fills in his brother on what had happened, and they all start laughing just at the sheer absurdity at everything that had gone down, you know, almost like it being over, everybody just has a little bit of a breath of relief about like, well, that was nuts and can't get any weirder. I just can't believe Dude Karen was literally like willing to throw hands over this, dude. If there's ever anything that I feel like it's absurd to actually fight about, it's the volume of music, you know. Oh, what did you get your assault and battery charge for? Well, this dude was playing music, so I fought him. And they're like, okay, well, was the music loud? Not necessarily, he just refused to turn it down when I asked, so, you know, I had to beat him up. And they're like, okay, bro. You know, I'm not one of these people that says that fighting is always stupid. I just feel like you should have a really good reason to fight. If you're gonna fight somebody over the fact that they didn't want to get on their knees and beg for forgiveness because they didn't want to turn down their music, you can't be surprised that people think that's a little aggressive, you know? I just feel like fighting over that stuff is just not worth it, especially when you're like grown men. No one wins in that situation, bro. You're 47. You get tired and like sore after a workout for 6 months. What do you think a fight's gonna do to you? No one is gonna like get on their knees and beg for forgiveness from an out of shape middle-aged man who is turning the shade of a tomato from screaming. Like, I'll take my chances in combat if I have to. Nobody wants to get into combat, you know. I'm just saying, you gotta be a little bit self-aware that like you're just kind of both old men and neither one of you is a UFC fighter and both of you are probably going to lose. And so the dad's like, all right, whatever. They go into the house because he left, and they thought it was over at that point. They figured they wouldn't come back because, you know, they thought they had called the cops. They were obviously in the wrong for being in the garage, so they're like, they're gonna have to leave us alone because it would be nuts if they came back, you know. Well, they thought wrong, because after 10 minutes, after this huge freak out where they had ran away flip-flops going down the street, there's this knock on the door, and obviously, you know, they're a little bit apprehensive to open it, but the dad goes ahead and opens it a little bit, and it's Karen and her husband, and the dad immediately is like, get out of here, I don't want any trouble, you know, and they start being like, no, we're not here for trouble, I'm sorry, and the dad has the door closed, but they can hear him yelling, I'm sorry, through the door, and they both have this moment where they look at each other, and like, for some reason, they decide to take a chance and open it. I feel like that was the wrong move, bro. I feel like keeping the door closed is definitely the elite move when it's the people that were just saying that like, they're gonna fight you, you know, just keep it closed, it's alright, you don't have to open it. The dad opens the door a bit, though, just to see what's going on, and like, Karen and her husband are both standing there with a can of Coke, and they're like, we want to give this to you as a peace offering. And the dad is just kind of sitting there a little bit confused because like, okay, you know, it's a can of soda, thank you, I guess. And he takes it from them because they were kind of like, you need to take this, it's our peace offering. And I'll be honest, I had literally never heard of this before. You know, maybe I'm stupid and this is a normal thing, but like, I didn't realize that when you fight with your neighbor, you're supposed to bring a can of soda over there and call it a peace offering. You know, especially after you threaten to fight them, I feel like a can of Coke doesn't really mend that. But obviously, he just kind of takes it from him, and he's like, thank you, peace, I guess. And they're like, no, thank you, no, thank you. And they leave. And the dad closes the door and is like super confused about that entire interaction because it's not every day that like, just what? I don't know why they decided to come back with a can of Coke as an apology. Maybe they were on Coke. It would explain the behavior a little bit. But either way, the dad closes the door way more confused than before he had opened it. And the situation was already bizarre, just to have some dude being like, I need you to beg for my forgiveness. And then 10 minutes later, he's like, listen, I'm really sorry about that. Will you take this soda as a peace offering? Like, dude, what in the Sims player is going on here? Like, it's just, huh? This has to be some aliens, like, pretending to be humans for their evaluation of humanity. But ever since, things have been even weirder. Like, that's what this person has said. They've been insanely over-friendly to them, to the point where it's weird. Like, listen, I guess thank you for the can of Coke as a peace offering, but at the end of the day, if you don't like someone, it's okay to just ignore them, you don't have to go the opposite way and be like so insanely over-friendly because it's kind of weird. And that's just how friendly they're being. Like, literally every time this kid or his dad is outside and Karen is nearby, like if she's down the street, she will literally drop everything and sprint over there and be like, can I help you with anything, my best friends, can I help you with anything? And they're always like, no, it's okay, because obviously they just don't really want to interact that much. The times that they did interact were bad enough. It's not like they were itching for more. Remember when they were threatening us and running into our garage? That was awesome. Let's be best friends. Like, you did threaten to break their radio, and your husband did say he was gonna beat this dude unless he got on his hands and knees and begged for forgiveness. I think they might not want to be best friends. It's okay to leave them alone for a little bit after all that went down. If anything, I would just be embarrassed, dude. I'd be like, I can never talk to these people again. After that, like, I feel like you might have to move countries, actually. Change your name, perhaps. No, they were just like, meh, whatever. I'm just gonna go up and be like, hey, bestie, what's up, bestie? How you doing, bestie? Regardless, I think that Karen is going out of her way to be overly nice. It's weird, sure, but it is better than her, like, going the other way and going nuts and becoming hellbent on, like, destroying your life. So at least if she's consistently bringing you cans of Coke, that's a W. Hey, best friend, would you like another soda? You're just like, of course I would. It's free. Why not? In fact, if anything, you got to use this to your advantage, right? Every time she offers you a free soda, you just take it and sell it, get some easy profit, dude. You're going to love the situation as you make 37 cents a day from reselling the Coke products. There you go, baby. There you have it. There's your entrepreneurial spirit advice. All jokes aside, though, I just figured you guys would like this video because it's right up the alley of the channel, If you did, it's been my longest video in a while, so if you guys could just press the like button and comment poop down below, I would really appreciate it. It just helps the video hit recommended, and more views is always nice, I can't lie. Seriously though, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications if you enjoyed this. I post videos like this pretty often, so you don't want to miss out on them. If you really want to help me out, I'll put a link down below to the intro song, a link down below to my podcast, or you could use code SCRUBBY at the G Fuel checkout. It's a great way to get a discount on G Fuel. You can also check out the story times on Spotify. That link's in the top of the description. Check it out. And the merch is pretty fantastic. Be sure to go get yourself some. I would very much appreciate it. And yeah, on that note, guys, that'll do it for the video. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.